Cha-Cha should go to junior high school this year. At the age of 14, she looked like Shuiling, with a white face like a glutinous rice dumpling, and it was easy to pinch it when she looked at it. Her eyes were like glass beads that had just been washed with water. She was pure, and she was a very beautiful little girl. At the moment she was sitting at the desk sighing. The blank homework book was lying on the table without moving a word. The acrimonious curse from the next windowsill slowly fell into Cha-Cha's ears. "What's the use of raising you? Do you know how much wronged I have been because of you? It's because of your wicked species that I became what I am today." What followed was the sound of things being smashed, and the wooden door was slammed shut with force. "Get out! Get out of here!" The scolding and beating lasted for almost half an hour, and finally slowly fell silent. Cha-Cha walked out of the bedroom, while her mother was cleaning up the clutter in the living room. The simple two-bedroom house is well organized by Chu Qingying, and the furnishings are simple and warm. Chu Qingying is in her 30s this year. She looks like a little girl in her 20s, with delicate and fair skin, well maintained. She has a black and slightly curly hair, and her brown pupils are light. The luster, delicate features, and beautiful make people unable to remove the eyes. She and her daughter have lived here for more than 10 years. They are very popular and have good relations with neighbors. Now I have opened a flower shop, and my life is just plain. Although she dresses very plainly, but she has a temperament that no one else has. Chu Qingying arranged the flower arrangement, looked at her daughter softly, and asked lovingly, "Cha-Cha, are you tired from homework?" Cha-Cha shook her head, and then went to the kitchen. She opened the refrigerator and put a small pocket of snacks in her arms. Her face was red, her voice was small and soft, and she was born with a charming energy. She said, "Mom, I will go downstairs and come back soon." Chu Qingying probably guessed who the daughter was looking for holding the snacks. She didn't care too much, just told, "Don't come back too late." She didn't change her shoes, stepped on her furry rabbit ear slippers, and nodded vigorously, The neighborhoods in the alleys are all small buildings with detached houses and yards. Cha-Cha can't wait to run out. The night is thick, the temperature is slightly cool in late summer, and the evening breeze is slowly glowing with coldness. Cha-Cha let out light footsteps and quietly approached the front of Shen Ji's courtyard. The small wrought iron door was not locked, and there were small gaps open. The handsome, cool-looking, and beautiful young man was driven into the yard by his mother. He was wearing thin white short sleeves. The boy's face was cold, and under his brows were a pair of cold eyes. The glazed pupils were cold, the nose bones were straight, white, and red, the corners of the mouth were straight, showing a noble and cold distance. Just now, the drunk foster mother pushed all the troubles of life on him, forbidden him to eat, forbid him to sleep, and drove him to the yard to be frozen. Cha-Cha quietly pushed open the courtyard door and walked cautiously. She pushed all the snacks in her pocket to Shen Ji, lowered her throat, and asked him in the softest voice, "Ji, are you hungry?" The fresh rice in the refrigerator, the chocolate that she usually reluctant to eat, and beverage nuts all carried over and stuffed him. Cha-Cha's eyes are very beautiful, his round eyes are gurgling, agile and lively, and the black pupils are like clean glass beads, clean and not stained with dust. She stared at Shen Ji with these beautiful eyes. "You remember to eat, I will go home first, see you tomorrow." Shen Ji's low eyes just saw the cute rabbit ear slippers on the girl's feet. She was wearing pajamas when she went out, and her hair was a little messy, lazy, and cute, and she looked a little confused. Her pajamas should be a little smaller, and a piece of white and slender ankle exposed to the air, small and delicate. Shen Ji silently retracted his eyes and murmured. Suddenly, the glass window on the right side of their heads seemed to have been hit by something, making a harsh noise. Cha-Cha was taken aback, glanced at the glass window, and then left the yard of Shen Ji's house with a cat waist. Halfway through, Cha-Cha turned back, and across the door, said to him with his mouth, "Ji, I will throw you a blanket from the balcony in a moment. The youth's cold complexion softened a little, he was very well behaved, okay. Cha-Cha hopped back home, her bedroom bedside was full of plush dolls, the room was small but warm. Cha-Cha rolled up the only blanket on her bed, clutching her white thumb tightly. She opened the floor-to-ceiling windows, walked to the balcony, leaned out her upper body with the railing, and then threw the blanket to Shenji. Shenji squeezed the blanket, which was very soft to the touch, and the smell on it was fragrant and sweet. He pressed the corners of his mouth without speaking. Cha-Cha stood by the balcony and accompanied him, talking to him in a whisper, Aji, it's cold at night, when your mother falls asleep, you can sneak into the house to sleep. Shenji didn't say much, well, good. Cha-Cha sees him blushing for a long time, she put her hand on her hot cheek, or I will be with you tonight. Shenji's tone was light, no need. Cha-Cha said, oh, okay. It's almost 10 o'clock in the evening, and I have to get up early to go to school the next day. Cha-Cha returned to her bed, took off her shoes, her toes were round, her fingernails were pink, and her feet were dangling in the air. Chu Qingying knocked on the door, Cha-Cha, I'm here. Cha-Cha quickly closed all the workbooks that were not written, Mom. Chu Qingying was holding the freshly soaked milk in her hand. She looked at her daughter who had a round cheek and a pink complexion. She couldn't help but squeeze her face, after drinking the milk, go to bed. Cha-Cha actually doesn't like milk, especially pure milk. Mom, can you not drink it? Don't drink that which is not tall. Cha-Cha was silent, frowning as if tangled. Chu Qingying looked at her lovely daughter, holding back a smile, don't we Cha-Cha want to grow to 1.7 meters? Mom, I will drink it. Well, go to bed early. When Chu Qingying left the room, she helped her turn off the lights by the way. Whenever she saw her daughter, she felt that it was worth all the effort to get out of that man. She is living well with her daughter now. She will also try to give her daughter a generous and trouble-free life. The tea in the room bitterly drank the glass of milk. She shouldn't be too tall. Shenji is the same age as her, but he is almost 1.5 meters tall now. She was only 1.5 meters tall last time to measure her height at school. He is always laughed at by other children in the alley as a dwarf, carrot. What a shame. After Cha-Cha drank the milk, thinking that Shenji could not sleep. My mother said that when the two of them were babies with no memory, they were often put together to look after them and became good friends. She was very domineering when she was a child, always grabbing the toys in Shen's hands. Shenji ignored him, but she was crying angrily. Cha-Cha didn't believe it. But mother never lied to her. Later both of them grew up gradually. Went to the same kindergarten. The same elementary school. Now go to the same junior high school again. For more than 10 years, Cha-Cha has almost been inseparable from Shenji. The grandmother in the alley always joked about the two of them, saying that Cha-Cha is Shenji's future daughter-in-law. Cha-Cha always blushed at this time, and then ran. Shenji had a sullen face, unhappy, and did not speak. Cha-Cha liked to play with Shenji, at first because there were only two of them in the entire lane without a father. When she was in kindergarten, she was ridiculed by the hateful back seat, pulling her braids and mocking her for being a wild child. She cried loudly, still choking on the way home. The eyes are redder than rabbits. Shenji was very impatient, holding her school bag. Don't cry, it's noisy. Cha-Cha stopped sobbing and blinked. Aji, don't you have a father? Shenji ignored her. But it does not prevent Cha-Cha from feeling that she has found a companion who has the same disease. The two houses are separated by a wall, so Cha-Cha is even more sticky. Shenji's mother disliked him very much. From childhood to adulthood, Cha-Cha always saw various scars on Shenji's body, sometimes burns, sometimes whiplashes, and occasionally saw injuries on his arms and legs. It is normal not to sleep hungry. Cha-Cha is very afraid of her stubborn mother, that is a very fierce woman. He had dry yellow hair and a yellow face. He looked like a 40-year-old man, and he looked nothing like Shenji. Cha-Cha couldn't figure out why Shenji's mother would not like him. Shenji has been a good boy since he was a child, and he is very good looking. He is the best good boy in Carey Lane. The teacher said that he will be admitted to the genius class of the attached high school in the future. Cha-Cha is a little sad, thinking her little bamboo horse is really pitiful. Cha-Cha opened the quilt, got out of bed barefoot, without turning on the light, walked to the balcony in the moonlight, and quietly looked down. There is no one outside of Shenji's house. He should have gone to bed too. Cha-Cha breathed a sigh of relief, and finally got a good night's sleep. She obediently covered the quilt and fell asleep. Cha-Cha didn't sleep well that night, turned on the light in the middle of the night and got up to drink water, and fell asleep in a dream. In her dream, she finished reading a novel. She also remembers the approximate plot of the novel. The male protagonist has been abused by his adoptive mother since he was abducted and trafficked. He was humiliated, beaten, and scolded at every turn. When he was hungry, he had a meal without a meal. He was not only physically abused, but also psychologically devastated. It can be said that his youth was very dark. Miserable. However, the male protagonist's parents have a lot of backgrounds. His father is a prominent family official, and his mother is also a noble daughter. Finally, when the male lead was 16, they found their son who had fallen outside. The parents who cried with joy immediately recognized the male protagonist. The male protagonist also went from being poor and bullied to being a young master Jingui. His adoptive mother who had abused him was sent to a mental hospital and lived better than death. But the male protagonist is also very remarkable. A genius boy who is extremely talented in business and politics. At a young age, he has completely cleaned up the door in a few months and obtained absolute control. No one dares to commit crimes. Gangster. In the early morning of the next day, Cha-Cha, who had just woke up, was still dumbfounded. He felt that he was in a dream and was shocked when he was tired. Why did the hero of the book she dreamed of was her poor little bamboo horse now? Oh. Probably a pure sweet article? It's been a long time since Bing Bing opened the new Wen Liao. All messages in this chapter will be sent as red envelopes big. Home. Hold. 1. Field. Thank. Big. Home. Cake. Love. You. Guys. At last, happy Valentine's Day. I go to Liaoning for the holidays. Don't read it. He. I like Xiao Qingmei in the article I am the heroine of heaven, please collect it. I am the heroine of heaven, whose literature is updated the fastest. Cha-Cha pressed off the alarm clock from sleepiness, and got up from the bed in a daze. After washing his face, brushing his teeth, and changing into school uniforms and school pants, his misty eyes became so clear. Cha-Cha now knows how to distinguish beauty from ugliness. She stood in front of the mirror, frowning at her fat blue and white sports school pants. So ugly. Not pretty at all. Her legs are shorter in sports pants. Cha-Cha disliked but had no choice. School discipline and school rules were strict, and he could not enter the school gate without wearing school uniforms and trousers. Cha-Cha walked to the living room with a yawn, and a burst of milk smelled. Chu Qingying prepared breakfast early in the morning, including custard buns, millet porridge, and sweet soy milk. Cha-Cha drank a bowl of porridge, put the custard bag and sweet soy milk into his school bag, and quickly changed his shoes. Mom, I'm going to school. Chu Qingying exhorted, be careful on the road. It is good. Cha-Cha carried a school bag and passed by the door of Shenji's house and glanced in nervously. No one was seen. I should have gone to school. Cha-Cha just entered the first year of junior high this semester. Xia Shengjun entered the middle school affiliated to the National People's University. The city is not allowed to divide top class and ordinary class. Shen Ji, who was the number one in the city, was put in the same class as her. Most of the classmates who played well at Cha-Cha Elementary School went to the attached middle school, but were assigned to different classes. After entering the classroom, Cha-Cha put down her school bag absent-mindedly. She was still thinking about the dream that she had last night. Cha-Cha suddenly figured out why his mother was not pleased with his mother, because he was obedient, sensible, and good at studying. Because she was the trafficker who trafficked him. Is a bad woman. Cha-Cha drooped her head listlessly, and she didn't know if Aji's biological parents would actually be found in 2 years. She barely cheered up, took out the custard bag and soy milk from the school bag, and secretly put the breakfast in Chen Ji's drawer while the teacher and classmates were not there. Chen Xinyi poked her shoulder with the ballpoint pen. Cha-Cha, let me copy your homework at the same table. Cha-Cha's table-mate lives in the alley of Carey Lane. His father is a university professor and his mother is the chief physician. They are a popular Kachi family in the alley. It's a pity that Cha-Cha's table-mate is therefore an autistic child. He didn't talk like a child and didn't like to play in crowded places. The relationship between Cha-Cha and Yugu is quite good. She was a lively and cute girl when she was a child. The children in the alley loved to play with her and were willing to listen to her. Because of his autism, no child wants to play with him. Except for Cha-Cha, at that time Yugu followed her like a little tail, without making trouble, staying and watching them play crazy. Cha-Cha talked and spoke slowly, so, can you lend me a look at your math homework? Yugu paused the pen tip, then silently pushed his homework to Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha said thank you in a low voice, and then passed the math homework to Chen Xinyi. You copy it quickly. Chen Xinyi gave her a thumbs up. Cha-Cha is still your cow. Others and Swiba Yugu couldn't even speak, and only Cha-Cha in the class could borrow Yugu's workbook. Only she enjoys this unique treatment. Cha-Cha has excellent grades and is liked by the teacher. She ran for the job as a representative of the math class at the beginning of school. Before the morning class, she collected all her homework and handed it to the teacher's office. When he returned, Shen Ji's seat was already occupied. The school uniforms that are not very attractive are worn on Shen Ji, refreshing and neat, showing a youthful feeling. Cha-Cha's gaze stayed on his face for a few seconds. His stubborn hair was black and soft, the tips of the hair fell gently, the hair on the forehead was just right, the eyebrows were delicate, the beautiful eyes had a cool feeling, thin lips were ruddy and the skin laying by, like a male protagonist walking out of a comic. Cha-Cha, who was dumbfounded, turned his eyes back with a blush. The ears are warm and the heartbeat is a little abnormal. Cha-Cha sat back to her position and drank several sips of water before feeling that strange burning sensation dropped and she barely felt at ease. Cha-Cha quietly raised his eyes, and couldn't help but look to Shen Ji's side. The custard bag would be cold if he didn't eat it. When Shen Ji sorted his desk, he found the extra breakfast in the drawer. He knew it and guessed it was given. He did not eat in the morning and was very hungry. Shen Ji clenched his fingers, his pale face was slightly red, and then slowly ate the custard packet and soy milk bite by bite. The custard bag is sweet and soft, and he thinks it is delicious even if he doesn't like sweets. Cha-Cha saw that Shen Ji had eaten the buns, and he was relieved. After class, Cha-Cha couldn't help but go to Shen Ji to play. She didn't understand how she liked to stick to him. Her voice was soft and waxy. Aji, is the custard bag delicious? Well, it's delicious. His voice sounded a little shy. Thank you. Cha-Cha especially wanted to bring all the good things she had to Shen Ji, so as to make him happy. Her little bamboo horse smiles pretty well. Cha-Cha smiled with crooked eyelashes, cute and loving. My mother's bean paste buns are also delicious, I will bring you tomorrow. Shen Ji said, no. Cha-Cha will not listen to him. After the class, Shen Ji lowered his eyes, thinking wildly, except Cha-Cha, no one has ever treated him so well. He has been accustomed to seeing the faces of all kinds of people since he was a child, and his mother yelled in his ear over and over again, that he was an idiot. Shenji rarely eats such good food, and his body is used to starving. Because there is no father and his mother loves to drink and abuse others, he has been isolated and mocked by his peers since he was a child. His world is cold and dark, and light has never visited his world. The long-term silence has cultivated a reserved personality, and he is not good at expressing goodwill. Can't say more than thank you. After class. Cha-Cha and Chen Xinyi went to the store to buy some snacks. After returning, the female students in the classroom were not calm. Did you see it? That's the genius of the high school studying Bajiangzhou. Why did he come to the junior high school today? I don't know, but he is so handsome. The young man in a white shirt stood outside the glass windows of the classroom. He was tall and thin. The sunlight favored him. He evenly fell on his white face. His eyes were faint and his gestures were reserved. Cha-Cha opened an orange-flavored lollipop, and she asked, "Why are Zhangzhou coming to us?" Chen Xinyi didn't know, and shook his head, "I don't know, but it's worthwhile to be able to educate the grass for nothing." Cha-Cha also followed the group of classmates, separated by a window, appreciating the beauty of Zhangzhou with an open mind. Eating lollipops over tea, thinking Zhangzhou is really good looking, it's a little worse than Shenji. Zhangzhou is a peach blossom eye. Shenji is a fox eye. She was taken aback, how could she think of Shenji again? Cha-Cha suddenly felt that the lollipop in his mouth was not so delicious. At the door of the classroom, someone was calling her, "Cha-Cha, Mr. Zhang is looking for you." Cha-Cha is flattered. She didn't know Zhangzhou. She ate the bitten lollipops into her belly, and then slowly walked to the door of the classroom, her round eyes rolled around, and then she asked generously, "Senior, are you looking for me?" Zhangzhou suddenly became nervous, his eyes reluctant to look away from her face. She looks more like her mother. The eyes are round and cute. His cheeks were round and tender, very white and soft. Zhang Chen wanted to pinch it. But he resisted. The father warned him that he should not scare his sister until he found his mother. Jiangzhou's voice was low and gentle, with a softness like a spring breeze. He asked, "Do you call Cha-Cha? I heard the teacher said that you are good at math. Can you add a mobile phone number?" Cha-Cha didn't understand what he wanted to do. After thinking for a while, she nodded, "Yes." The corners of Jiangzhou's mouth could not help but turn up. Even if he is a schoolmaster, Cha-Cha feels it is necessary to make it clear to him, "But senior, I can only play on my mobile phone on weekends." The more Zhangzhou felt that his sister was so cute, "Okay." Cha-Cha looked serious, "Also, my mother wouldn't let me fall in love early." Zhangzhou was stunned for a second, and then couldn't help but laugh. The smile at the corner of his mouth gradually deepened, and the muffled voice fell back into his chest, "I see." After swapping mobile phone numbers, Cha-Cha suddenly became the most watched girl in the class and was surrounded by classmates. "Cha-Cha, didn't you really know Zhangzhou before? This is the handsome Zhangzhou. It is very beautiful and very cold. I have never seen him smile so tenderly to a girl. I thought he would only study with a straight face. Cha-Cha, you are so nice. Is he unfamiliar?" "I don't know." Cha-Cha said with a certain tone, paused for half a second after speaking, and then asked slightly distressed, "Does he want to chase me?" "Chen Xinyi, you can wake up." Cha-Cha has already begun to struggle. If Zhangzhou confessed to her, would she agree or not? If you refuse, what excuses should you use? When school is over, Cha-Cha is blocked by the classmate next door. Banhua wore a small skirt worth tens of thousands of dollars, painted delicate makeup, arrogantly stopped in front of her, looked down on people, and rolled her face twice. "I heard that brother Zhangzhou is looking for you today." Banhua then asked loudly, why did brother Zhangzhou come to you? Cha-Cha scratched his head, cautiously, maybe he likes me. Ban Hua jumped and mocked, you are talking nonsense. How can brother Zhangzhou like you? Cha-Cha pursed her lips, after all, I am so cute, and it is normal for him to like me. When Ban Hua saw her, she was disgusted in her heart. Her elder brother usually doesn't care about her much at home. It is as cold as the sky and the moon, rejecting her thousands of miles away, but today she talks to Cha-Cha so softly, she is really jealous. Ban Hua looked arrogant, stared at her with sarcasm, and warned, don't seduce my Zhangzhou brother, he is someone you can't climb. You'd better stay away from him, I am his sister, he is very love me, do you know the Zhang family? If you make me unhappy, I will let my father fire you. Cha-Cha felt that Ban Hua's brain might not work well, oh. Ban Hua left contentedly after playing away inspiring. Cha-Cha does not recognize Ban Hua, but Chen Xinyi recognizes her. The only jewel in the hands of the famous Zhang family, although she is an adopted daughter, she is still the daughter of the Zhang family's grandparents who dominate the daughter for 3 generations. The skirts on her are worth tens of thousands, so beautiful little skirts, I want to have them too. Cha-Cha sighed, I also feel good looking, so envious. Chen Xinyi reminded her, Cha-Cha, don't mess with her. Her father is a thief. The Zhang family is a well-known family with a deep background. If she gets angry and goes home to file a complaint, she can really fire you. Cha-Cha didn't want to cause trouble, she nodded obediently, okay. Chen Xinyi's voice of lemon essence, Zhang Ruan is the adopted daughter of the Zhang family, but I don't think her family regards her as an outsider at all. Cha-Cha didn't understand, doesn't she have a brother? Why do you want to adopt it? Chen Xinyi also heard the gossip from class 3, it seems that Mrs. Zhang was pregnant when she was in a car accident, with a girl in her belly. Maybe this is the rich man's grief. So this is T lacks interest in tea and is not interested in other people's affairs. When she walked to the school bike depot, she and her good friend Chen Xinyi waved, see you tomorrow. Shen Ji pushed a white bicycle, tacitly accepted the heavy school bag in her hand and placed it in front, get in the car. The voice is low and steady. Cha-Cha's face heats up uncontrollably, sits on the back seat, fingers tensely tugging at the hem of his clothes. It's not like I've never rode Shen Ji's bicycle before, but my blushing problem is getting worse recently. Shen Ji had nothing to say. Cha-Cha is an unstoppable temper. Looking at Xian Ji's back, she asks a little embarrassed, Ji, am I heavy? The breeze took away her voice. Shen Ji's answer was also sent by Feng, it's not heavy. Cha-Cha's heartbeat is fast, and I can't tell what's wrong with me. At the entrance of the alleys, there are rugged bluestone roads inside, making it difficult to ride a bicycle. Young girls wear blue and white school uniforms of similar styles, pushing bicycles, walking side by side. Under the big tree at the entrance of the alley, the old women sat in the shade with PU fans in their hands, and looked at them with a smile. School is over. Just the mung bean soup doesn't pull it. Wu dialect is soft. There is sweetness in the ears. Cha-Cha said, stop drinking. The old grandmother teased her and Shen Ji in dialect again, saying that they would definitely get married in the future. Cha-Cha found that every time Shen Ji heard these words, she would not be happy, and she ignored everyone with a cold face and just walked forward. She quickly said, we are still young, mother-in-law, don't laugh at us anymore. After speaking, turning around, Shen Ji has already moved forward. This time is no exception. Shen Ji was also angry. Cha-Cha did not go as fast as him, so he hurriedly followed behind him, stepping on his shadow and following him. When they were about to walk to the door of the house, a lot of small rocks were hit at their feet. Opposite Cha-Cha is the landlord's house. The landlord's child is 13 years old this year. The child who was fed was fat and had a bad temper. At this time, he smiled at them like a grimace. Xiao Yeshong without a father. Humble T. Inferiority Xiao Shen. The fateful little Mandarin duck woo woo woo. Bibbing feels distressed. I am the heroine of the heroine Xiao King Mei's literature update fastest. When I was young, Cha Cha grabbed her mother's finger and asked her father where to go. Why do other children have fathers, but she does not? But every time she asked, her mother seemed very sad, and gradually Cha Cha stopped asking. The fat man who threw stones at them was the only child of the landlord. At the beginning of this small promotion, he was the only one in the entire Kerry Lane who failed to pass the high school. The little fat man was accustomed to the lawlessness of his family and bullied people every day. Cha Cha was not afraid of him, and frightened him seriously. Your mother is here. The fat man turned his head and looked back subconsciously, and found that he was so embarrassed after being deceived. He grinned fiercely at her. The dog couldn't spit out ivory. He kept repeating, Xiao Yeshong. Xiao Yeshong. Xiao Yeshong. Although Cha Cha has a good personality, she doesn't want to endure the bare child. She said, if you scold me again, I will tell your mother about your last test this week and tampering with the test paper score. The fat man was really bluffed by her, his mouth was crooked. Cha Cha is really bad. Shen Ji, who was standing still, clenched his fists, his face paler than usual. This was not the first time he heard this kind of ridicule. He had heard a lot of things that were even worse than this before. But he didn't want Cha Cha to hear this. Shen Ji held Cha Cha's wrist, another slender and white hand took her bag, and gave it back to her. You go home first and ignore him. Cha Cha looked down at his finger, it was so beautiful. The nails are neatly trimmed, the thumbs are thin and white, and the joints are distinct. Cha Cha took the school bag, stood on tiptoe, looked up at him, her voice was soft and sweet, Aji, don't take this nasty fat man's words to heart. Shen Ji's cold eyes seemed to soften a lot, and the icebound heart gradually became softer. He rubbed Cha Cha's little head, well, our Cha Cha sister also covers her ears and don't listen. Cha Cha's cheeks were hot as if they were being burned, and they were red with shyness. The boy said that he really stretched out his hands and covered her ears. The temperature of his palm was cold, and his movements were gentle and natural. Although he touched her ear for less than 3 seconds, Cha Cha still felt the tenderness of the teenager. Her ears instantly burned red, like a mimosa that was about to bury herself with leaves. She buried her head low and her heartbeat accelerated. I'm going home, see you tomorrow. Shen Ji took his gaze back from her back, he locked the bicycle and was about to enter the house. Fatty hates Shen Zi more than Cha Cha. His mother grabbed his ears and talked to him about how good Shen Zi's grades are. Shen Zi is a child of someone else's family. He has suffered a lot in the comparison. The fat man refused to give up and continued to curse, your mother doesn't know which wild man gave birth to you. You are the dirtiest child here, even your mother thinks you are dirty. Shen Ji lowered his eyelids, restrained his emotions, pretended not to hear anything, locked him up and ignored him. The fat man continued to provoke him, and the stone slammed on his calf. No one likes a freak wild species. Shen Ji's footsteps were taken, but he still ignored it. The fat man has a domineering personality, and he said, you and Cha Cha are both dadless freaks, disgusting. Shen Ji turned his head, raised his eyelashes, his dark eyes were deep, and he no longer restrained and forbeared. He bent down and squatted and picked a stone from the ground. Because of the excessive force on his thin wrist, several veins and blood vessels were revealed under his pale skin. The young man raised his eyes and cast his icy gaze at him. The stone in his hand hit his thigh precisely, his eyes were cold and sharp, don't speak ill of her. The fat man yelled in pain, but was shocked by his gloomy eyes and cold tone. Wei Wenyo closed his mouth. Cha Cha threw herself into the bedroom, the temperature of her cheeks still remained constant, she reached out and touched the place where she had been touched by Shen Ji, her ears seemed to have the fresh smell of a teenager and his temperature. Her heartbeat is still fast. Heart bang, bang, bang. The deer bumped her heart randomly. Cha-Cha rolled on the bed, her white face was reddened from suffocation. When her heartbeat calmed down, she lifted the quilt and got out of bed to do homework. She sat at the desk, opened the Chinese homework book, holding the newly bought pen with her white fingers. Unconsciously, Cha-Cha wrote Shen Ji's name on the Chinese exercise book stroke by stroke. She tore off the paper in a panic and crumpled it into a ball. After a few seconds, she slowly unfolded the ball of paper. She looked down at the stubborn name and giggled. It wasn't until he heard the quarrel in the living room that Cha-Cha clamped this crumpled paper in her pink diary. Cha-Cha opened the door, and an unexpected guest arrived at home. Fatty's mother is also their former landlord. Fat Mom is a shrewd middle-aged woman who can calculate, bullying, and fearing hard work. She is naturally not afraid of this widowed mother and daughter. She reprimanded her righteously, Qing-ying, it's not that I said you, children can't just show good grades without talking about character. The fat mother pushed her son out and rolled up his trouser legs. There was an extra wound on the white thigh. Her voice was extremely high, let's see what your daughter has done to my son? Chu Qing-ying turned around and asked Cha-Cha, have you beaten him? Cha-Cha shook his head, I don't have one. Chu Qing-ying touched her daughter's hair, Fatty Mom, you heard it too, it wasn't my daughter who did it. The fat mother decided that Cha-Cha snorted and aggressively said, who else could she have? What do you think my son is scared of? Can you afford to be scared? Of course she knew there was still a stubbornness. But Shen Ji's mother was also a fishy affair, so she had to pinch Chu Qing-ying's soft persimmon. The fat mother held on to her, staring at the tea with cold eyes, and said very rudely, your daughter really needs to teach her well, otherwise she would be too unqualified. The reason why she can be so rampant is that there are no men or relatives in this family. The single woman is carrying a daughter who has a petrol bottle. She has no connections and no money. Of course, she is not afraid of bullying as she wants. Chu Qing-ying could be wronged, but could not tolerate others to say that her daughter was not good. This is the baby girl she holds in her palm, and she cannot tolerate others to slander her. Chu Qing-ying's face was cold, and she rarely became tough. Fatty Mom, don't be too much. Now every door is installed with surveillance. Whether my daughter has beaten your son or not, just look at the surveillance. She clenched her fists and said with a serious face, if you deliberately wronged my daughter and accused her of such ugly words, don't blame me for warning you to disturb the people and provoke trouble. My daughter didn't bully you. Fat Mom was bluffed for a few seconds, and her mouth was hard. Who wronged you? What a joke. Cha-Cha stood up, Auntie, I didn't beat him, but he called me a wild child without a father. Chu Qing-ying's hands trembled after hearing her daughter's words, and pointed to the door to tell them to get out. The fat mother guarded her son, went back with a disheveled shame, and blurted out, my son is right, isn't your daughter a wild species without a father? Chu Qing-ying was very rude, pushed them out of the house, holding a broom, and the mother and son dared to step forward, and she started to fight back, go. Get out of here. Don't step into my house forever. Although the fat mother is wrong, she still scolds, who is it, stingy? Fat Mom endured the anger at this moment, thinking that the flower shop that Chu Qing-ying opened was not doing good business, maybe it would close down in 2 days, and see if she could be so tough. She sighed twice, poor sour ghost, fake and high-ranking, wait for the bad luck for a lifetime. After Chu Qing-ying closed the door, she was trembling all over, her eyes were red and she was holding her daughter, tears flowed uncontrollably, and she said in a crying voice, Cha-Cha, it's my mother who is sorry for you. She choked, but we Cha-Cha are not wild children without a father, you know. Cha-Cha wiped away the tears on her face, Mom, don't cry. Chu Qing-ying stared at her daughter. When she ran away from the man, she didn't know she was pregnant. She is tired of life without freedom under house arrest. She was too depressed. Day after day, year after year, he lives under his supervision. Can only listen to him, can only watch him, can only change into the skirt he prepared for himself. It was the canary he raised, not like his wife. She planned for a long time before she escaped from the cage of the man who covered the sky in the Zhang family. Chu Qingying used to be a very weak woman who had never suffered, because her daughter had the courage to live well. Her daughter is so cute and cute. The only thing she feels guilty about is not giving her daughter a complete family and childhood. When my daughter was 4 or 5 years old and was still a little soft dumpling, she always looked at her with a pair of round and dark eyes and asked, "Mom, why doesn't Cha-Cha have a father?" Every time at this time, Chu Qingying's heart was cut, tears flowed into her heart, and she even had the urge to bring her daughter back to him. Later, Cha-Cha never asked her again, for fear that she would be sad, and that she would be bullied and kept secret from her. Chu Qingying touched her daughter's profile. "Okay, I won't cry anymore. What do you want to eat, Cha-Cha, tonight?" Cha-Cha licked the corners of her lips. "Mom, I want to eat cake." Chu Qingying said yes. After a while, Cha-Cha said anxiously, "Mom, don't put yellow peaches in the cake, I don't want yellow peaches." Chu Qingying was amused, and still nodded. In this regard, the daughter is very much like that man, she doesn't eat yellow peaches and is very picky. Cha-Cha also left a piece of cake in the evening, put it on his small printing plate, and took it back to the room. The balcony of the Cha-Cha room and the balcony of Shen Zhi's room happened to be connected together. She was standing on the balcony while holding a small plate and whispering Shen Zhi's name. After a few seconds, the floor-to-ceiling windows on the balcony were opened, and the teenager in pajamas stood in the moonlight, more beautiful than the bright night. Cha-Cha tried to stretch out her short hand, and was full of joy when she saw him. "Aji, I invite you to eat cake." She picked out many strawberry mangoes and put them in the cake. Shen Zhi didn't eat dinner, he didn't feel hungry, but when he caught a glimpse of the cake she brought over, his overly hungry stomach started to hurt. He swallowed his throat, took the cake she handed over, pinched her spoon with his thumb, and took a small sip. The mouth melted, the taste was soft and the sweetness was just right. He ate a small piece without knowing it. Cha-Cha feels that Shen Zhi even eats better than others, gentle, like a noble boy. She was also happy to see that Shen Zhi had finished the cake. She leaned her waist against the railing and looked at him with a smile and said, "Aji, the fat guy on the other side was beaten by someone. I don't know which strong man did a good job without leaving his name." Shen's Haijing listened to her quietly, yet. The girl has a tender face, fair skin, and loose hair leaning against her neck. She smiles pure and cute, and her smile seems to be sweeter than the cake he had just eaten. Shen Zhi silently looked away. Yu Guang noticed the girl stepping on the tiled floor barefoot. He said, "Cha-Cha, it's cold, don't always go barefoot and put on your shoes." Cha-Cha said, "My rabbit slippers have not been dried yet." Shen Zhi was silent for a few seconds, then returned to the room and handed her his simple pair of white slippers. "Wear mine first." Cha-Cha took it with a red face, even if it was a bit big on her feet, she couldn't bear to take it off. They said good night to each other. Then each went back to the room to sleep. The first grade courses are not difficult for Cha-Cha. She did very well and ranked in the top 10. It seems to be well behaved and is actually a bit rebellious. After class, I will complain to my classmates that the teacher has assigned too many homework. After the math class, Cha-Cha came back from the small shop, and Chen Xinyi stopped and said, "Cha-Cha, the school grass came to the junior high school this morning." Cha-Cha bit the straw and drank the sweet soy milk. "Oh." Chen Xinyi was very curious. "I stayed in the corridor outside the classroom of our class for a few minutes and chatted with the head teacher for a while. The school grass is so handsome, tall, thin, and white, and the family background is not bad." Cha-Cha agreed with what Chen Xinyi said, "It's really handsome." Chen Xinyi sighed. The former high school senior said that Zhang Zhou is the indifferent flower of jailing, and it doesn't look like it. Cha Cha said solemnly, there is no cold man in the world, but you are not the one who is warm. The school grass came to the junior high school for 2 days, and rumors abounded. The class next door, Hua Zhongruan, didn't know if it was intentional. He took her little attendant and blocked the way of Cha Cha in the corridor, holding both hands, and sneered, children without fathers lack education and don't look at themselves. Poor and sour. The Cha Cha costume can't hear her, and the best way to face the enemy is to ignore her and make her angry. Zhang Ruan was really angry with her, stomped his feet hard, and chased after her in anger, reaching out to push her. Cha Cha ducked sideways. Zhang Ruan rushed to the air, and actually hit the door directly, with a big bag swollen on her forehead. She cried with pain, and went to the office to tell the teacher while crying. Zhang family. Zhang Chengzhou received the photo from the private detective. The picture shows the woman he loves deeply, and the daughter he had never seen before. Zhang Chen's whose fingers gently stroked the person in the photo, his eyes darkened. Over the past 10 years, Chu Qingying has not changed much. He loved this woman so much, he never thought that she would rather run away from him by feigning death. Zhang Chen's whose gaze slowly shifted to the girl's face, her white, soft face, eyebrows resembling her mother. She was very cute, with 2 pigtails, a hat with rabbit ears, and a strap printed with a little fox. Pants, a bright smile. This is his daughter. Zhang Chen's whose eyes were about to melt, and a long-lost tenderness appeared in the eyes of this cold and ruthless man. He is bound to win. Chu Qingying and her daughter are going to pick it up. His daughter can't live in a difficult life. He will definitely spoil her as a princess. The stars and moon were held in front of her. TT is not silly, white and sweet, she is a cute but smart girl. It should not be far from the appearance of the heroine Cha Cha. My father is so tired of QAQ Xiao Shen, sister Cha Cha is so cute QAQ 2 little cuties. The pie cake has turned into a heart. The cake shows everyone a broken boulder in the chest. Remember to leave a comment. Pension players urgently need encouragement. See you tomorrow. Thanks to the little angel who voted for me or irrigated the nutrient solution during 2020082401:50:2020082710:1035. Thanks to the little angel who threw the grenade, I will not play one game today. Thanks to the little angel who irrigated the nutrient solution, 50 bottles of the evil and mad chairman. Fortunately, Kukiku, 10 bottles of oos, 6 bottles of Wulai, Ruxia, and the little hamster who loves milk tea. 5 bottles of stars are not bright, learning to make I'm about to fall. It's actually a bottle of green onion. Thank you very much for your support. I will continue to work hard. I like Xiao Qingmei in the article I am the heroine of the heavens. Please collect it. I am the heroine of the heroine. Xiao Qingmei's literature update fastest. TT changed the habit of sleeping late in the morning. Every morning, I set an alarm clock at 6 o'clock. I was too sleepy to open my eyes and got up from the bed firmly. After breakfast, I went to Shen Zhi's door to wait for him. Shen Zhi came out on time pushing the bicycle. Cha Cha browsed and bounced to his side, chatting about boring things. She said. He listened. When he got to the alley, Cha Cha sat in the back seat of Shen Zhi's bicycle, putting her hand carefully on his waist. In the late summer and early autumn, the oncoming wind was very gentle. Cha Cha raised his face, black pupils looked at the side of the young man, his jawline was perfect, his nose was tall, his lips were red and his teeth were white, and the dazzling sunlight poured on his delicate skin, making it more white. No matter how many times you watch T, you can never get tired of it. Shen Zhi is really good looking, and his body smells good. Shallow, faint fragrance. Cha Cha said softly and softly, Aji. The boy turned his face, his voice was low and sweet, Hey. Cha Cha whispered in her heart, let's be good friends for life, okay? The girl hid her words to the bottom of her heart because of her shyness. She changed her words and said, I just want to call you, your name sounds nice. Shen Ji's body was tight, and he was a little at a loss after being praised, and the tips of his ears became red without being noticed. After her daughter went to school, Chu Qingying arranged the kitchen and planned to go to the flower shop. As soon as she changed her clothes, the doorbell rang. Chu Qingying opened the door. You. The latter word stopped abruptly when she saw the incoming person clearly. Chu Qingying subconsciously wanted to close the door. However, the strength of the man's wrist was 10 times that of hers. His 5 fingers firmly controlled the door frame, and the leather shoes were against the door. She closed the door hard without moving. Jiang Chen's whose compelling gaze was fixed on her face, the man's aura was more majestic than it was a decade ago, and his whole body was cold. Chu Qingying was so scared that tears almost fell. The fear in his bones surged at the moment he saw this man. Over the years, she tried hard to forget that memory. Now it is all in vain. She remembers clearly even the minutiae. The year she met Zhang Chengzhou, she was still a student who had just entered university, ignorant and naive. But I don't know where the youthful girl got Zhang Chen's favor, and she was forced to marry him. Chu Qingying hadn't even enjoyed the normal university life, so he was taken home captive by the possessive and sickly, and he was taken into hiding. She escaped several times over her own capacity. Zhang Chengzhou is like playing a cat and mouse game, breaking her hopes every time at the last moment. He can always find her easily at airports, railway stations, bus stations, no matter what kind of transportation means. Her disobedience angered Zhang Chengzhou. Later, Chu Qingying was locked up in the 20story high-end apartment for almost 4 years, with the doors and windows locked. The only person she could see was Zhang Chengzhou. If you want to go out once, you have to beg him. Chu Qingying's eyes were scared red all of a sudden, and his body trembled slightly. Zhang Chengzhou squeezed her chin and sneered, "What are you crying for?" He raised the corners of his mouth and said with a smile, "You are so good, you have been hiding under my nose for so many years, and you secretly gave birth to my daughter." When Chu Qingying heard her daughter, she suddenly became nervous, her voice trembling, "What do you want to do? Don't hurt my daughter." Zhang Chengzhou couldn't wait to tie this woman home right away, but he resisted it, knowing that he shouldn't be too hasty, and it would be no good to scare people away. He smiled, "What nonsense are you talking about? Cha-Cha is also my daughter. Of course I want to take her home." Chu Qingying was weak in nature, and her tears kept falling, her eyes flushed, "No way. Zhang Chengzhou really wanted to her daughter from her. She cannot accept it." Zhang Chengzhou laughed when he heard this, "Why can't it? You really want to grab it, can you grab me?" Chu Qingying couldn't grab it. The Zhang family was powerful and powerful. Zhang Chengzhou wasn't a vegetarian in these years. The methods were so good that he could bear it with his fingers. Zhang Chengzhou endured his desire. Zhang Chen knows that he still has a younger sister, and he is very happy. "I can't bear to watch them separate." When Chu Qingying heard her son's name, she was in a daze, and her tears kept streaming. She was forced by Zhang Chengzhou to leave when she left. She didn't mean to leave her son behind. Zhang Chengzhou accepts as soon as he sees it, and doesn't want to push her to a dead end. He wipes the tears on the woman's cheek with his fingertips. "Yingying, I'll give you." Chu Qingying interrupted him, her red eyes looking at him pitifully, holding his hand and begging, "Zhang Chengzhou, let's talk." Zhang Chengzhou raised his eyebrows, "Yes." The classmates in the classroom where Cha-Cha and Shen Ji entered together were not surprised. These two people are neighbors and childhood sweethearts, and of course the relationship is better than ordinary students. Cha-Cha just walked to her seat with her school bag on her back, and found that her desk mate had been bullied. Therefore, he is a boring gourd, and he cannot say a word all day. The boy in the back row who didn't study well relied on use reason and couldn't speak, saying, "You, let me use the pen." Yugu's expression was cold, holding a pen tightly in his hand, obviously reluctant to borrow it. The boys gathered around his table, laughing. Why are you so stingy? Isn't it just a pen? Yugu held the pen silently. The boy asked with a bad tone, are you dumb? Dumb learning bully. Cha-Cha walked over, watching them with her beautiful eyes, and then slowly said, I was beaten by the third class last week. If you can't bully the other class, you will come to bully the classmates. You are really promising. Several boys were blushing and blue when she said, and snorted, no more. Cha-Cha's eyes were round, a bit fierce and cute. She said, don't bully me at the same table in the future. Cha-Cha is also full of sympathy for the reason he has been following her since she was a child. When she was a little girl with pigtails in the sky at the age of 5, she patted too much on the shoulder like a big sister, saying that she would protect him in the future. So, you are not scared, are you? Yugu shook his head, then took out a piece of chocolate from her bag, broke her soft palm, put it on, for you, you eat. This is the chocolate that Yugu's father brought him from abroad on a business trip last week. Thank you. She peeled off the chocolate packaging, placed it on her teeth and took a bite. The delicate and beautiful young man turned his eyes, looked at her intently, and asked, is it delicious? Cha-Cha nodded, it's delicious. When Yugu heard her say it was delicious, he grabbed a pocket of chocolate from his school bag and gave it all to her. Cha-Cha ate 2 pieces by himself, and divided some pieces for Chen Xinyi at the back table. She didn't notice, Yugu was a little unhappy. After the morning class, Cha-Cha was called to the office by the teacher. Zhang Ruan hid a big bag on his forehead and cried all night. He couldn't wait to complain to the teacher and vowed to give the tea a look. Zhang Ruan's head teacher softly comforted Zhang Ruan, turned his face, looked at Cha-Cha with a serious expression, and asked sharply, classmate Zhang Ruan said you deliberately caused her to fall and hit the wall. Is there such a thing? Cha-Cha was very calm, she shook her head, no. The head teacher curled her eyebrows, then how can she hit the wall when she is so good? Cha-Cha said solemnly, maybe her cerebellum is underdeveloped and she hasn't stood firm. Zhang Ruan glared at her with red eyes, you. Zhang Ruan's teeth itchy, you deliberately avoided it and made me hit the wall. Cha-Cha thought for a while, and she said seriously, teacher, I don't know that classmate Zhang will suddenly rush over, after all, I don't have eyes behind my back. Zhang Ruan's head teacher was speechless. But the daughter of the Zhang family was injured in the school, so she had to give an explanation. So she said, a classmate in class 2 testified that you tripped classmate Zhang with your foot and caused her to fall. Classmate Zhang apologizes and writes a check again, and it's fine. Cha-Cha grown up in a single-parent family can tolerate ordinary things. But Zhang Ruan is obviously deceiving others by taking advantage of his position. Cha-Cha pursed her lips, and said, the second class is really poor. Seeing the teacher's eyes are strange, Cha-Cha's tone is natural, the eyes are not good. It doesn't have to be a bad look. Maybe it's because I have eaten a lot of poisonous mushrooms this season and I have hallucinations. Otherwise, how could I see me stretch out my feet and trip up classmate Zhang? The teacher was afraid to talk to her again, and became ill, and said coldly, call your parents over tomorrow. Out of the office, Zhang Ruan walked in front of her as a winner, mocking her little sister, the country mud legs dare to upset me, even if her mother cries tomorrow and tells me sorry, I will let dad fire her. Soft, your family treats you so kindly. The cost of eating and wearing is the most expensive and the best. She doesn't like bracelets worth tens of thousands of dollars. The school uniforms are all custom-made, and the fabrics are different from them. Zhang Ruan said indifferently, of course, my grandma's favorite is me. For my birthday this year, my grandma also said that she would give me a villa. The little sister said, compared with you, Chucha is really shabby, and the clothes you usually wear look very cheap. Zhang Ruan hummed, where is she worthy to compare with me? It may be the girl's intuition. From the time when my brother looked at Chu Cha and talked like a treasure that day, Zhang Ruan sensed the crisis and hated Chu Cha very much. Cha Cha's ears automatically blocked their conversation, and returned to the classroom with a frown, only to call the parents in his heart. Chen Xinyi patted her shoulder, covered her face with a book, and talked to her in a low voice in class. Cha Cha, the head teacher said that our class will have a transfer student next week. Cha Cha lay on the table, listless. Oh. Chen Xinyi said, I heard that she is a girl, and she studies very well. Cha Cha said, don't worry, no one has ever passed the exam. Chen Xinyi saw her look decadent, and asked curiously, what's wrong with you? Cha Cha said miserably, Wu, I'm going to be called a parent by the teacher. She said again, why don't these teachers have any other tricks besides calling the parents? Chen Xinyi touched her head, it's so pathetic. Cha Cha, forget it, there are hundreds of dollars in her piggy bank, which should be enough to invite someone to pretend to be her parent. After school, Cha Cha returned home in despair, took off her shoes and put down her school bag. Obediently, Mom, I'm back. She stepped on the floor wearing her own bare socks. Mom, I want to eat fish tonight. The last word swallowed back into his throat. Cha Cha looked at the strange man in the living room. She was too small and needed to lift her neck to see his face. She was stunned. Hey, did I go to the wrong door? Cha Cha, sorry, I'm sorry to disturb you by going to the wrong set. Zhang Chengzhou, my daughter, my QAQ messages in this chapter are randomly sent out red envelopes. Don't fatten up, is it bad to meet every day? Woo woo woo. Ugh, this biscuits are really innocent, it feels like that of the state pure cakes, he see you tomorrow. Asterisk, thanks to the little angel who voted for me or irrigated the nutrient solution during 2020082710:1035 2020082811:25:26 thanks to the little angel who threw landmines. 1 Xinjing, thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. I like Xiao Qingmei in the article I am the heroine of the heavens, please collect it. I am the heroine of the heroine. Xiao Qingmei's literature update fastest. Cha Cha has never seen the man in front of him. He is very good looking, tall and thin, dressed in a casual black suit, and handsome. Cha Cha hui, cute and playful. She had a beautiful bald head today, her black and soft hair pulled back behind her head, her clean face was white and tender, her eyes were black and shiny, and her pink custard lips were slightly pursed. Very cute. The little girl stood obediently in the living room, looking at him with these talking eyes. Zhang Chen's whose cold heart was instantly softened and melted into his daughter's clean and beautiful eyes. She looks better than in the photo, her face is white and soft, and her voice is soft. Zhang Chengzhou didn't dare to speak to her loudly, for fear that he would scare her. He tried to curb his cold temperament to make himself look like an approachable man. Zhang Chengzhou still didn't know what to say when meeting his daughter for the first time, but he was usually at a loss for what to do. Cha Cha's eyes rolled twice, yes. This is her home. She stared at the man in front of her with her big round eyes, and she intuitively judged that he should not be a thief. Chu Qingying, who was preparing dinner in the kitchen, heard her daughter's voice, turned off the gas stove, and hurried out, her expression unnatural. She said, Cha Cha, this is my mother's friend. I will stay tonight to eat dinner. Chu Qingying had been negotiating terms with Zhang Chengzhou all day. She did not agree to Zhang Chen's who's taking away her daughter, nor did she agree to tell her the truth now. Cha Cha is still too young, and Chu Qingying is afraid that she will suddenly not be able to accept so many changes. Zhang Chengzhou also promised her that he could hide it temporarily, but the time would not exceed 2 months at most. Cha Cha nodded, then put down his little school bag. Mom, is there any fish to eat tonight? Chu Qingying rubbed her daughter's little head. There is your favorite steamed sea bass. Cha Cha bent her eyes, her white face was filled with powder, and she said, then I want to eat more. Chu Qingying gently squeezed her daughter's face. Go back to the room to do your homework. I will call you when dinner is over. She nodded obediently. Okay. Cha-Cha noticed that this strange man in the living room had been staring at her. She turned her head, and the man smiled at her. Cha-Cha thought to herself, she must be so cute that she is so attractive. Carrying a small school bag, she returned to the room happily, and it took less than half an hour to finish the homework assigned by the teacher. As soon as I cleaned the desk, my mother knocked on the door and told her to eat dinner. Cha-Cha changed her school uniform into her own thin sweater, with a pattern of little monsters printed on the front of her clothes. Suddenly there were more people on the dinner table to eat together. T are still a bit unaccustomed. This was the first time that my mother invited a man to eat at home alone. Cha-Cha, who was just about to enter puberty, suddenly became vigilant, raised her little head from the bowl, and stared at him with round black eyes. She ran out of food, wondering if this was her mother's boyfriend. It's okay. The temper seems to be very good. Zhang Chengzhou was softened by the big cute eyes of his daughter. At the beginning, he knew that Chu Qingying was a girl. He prepared a lot of clothes and toys for girls in advance. He thought that he would give him whatever his daughter wanted. The little princess is good. Cha-Cha retracted his gaze and continued to lower his head to eat. The chopsticks only stretched into the plate of perch in front of him. The green vegetables did not touch him. Chu Qingying couldn't help saying, Cha-Cha, don't be picky eaters. Cha-Cha frowned when she saw the extra vegetables in the bowl. She said, but Mom, I have to eat meat to grow taller. Chu Qingying pierced her, you are eating fish. Cha-Cha bitterly ate all the vegetables in the bowl. No one snatched the perch on the plate. Zhang Chengzhou just looked at her and his heart would become soft, and his daughter really looked like a soft cat. After dinner, Chu Qingying will see off the guests. Zhang Chengzhou opened his face coldly, Nu Chin, and said, I still have something left in your bedroom. Chu Qingying's face turned pale and red, she lowered her throat and said angrily, you are waiting at the door, I'll find it for you. Zhang Chengzhou put his hands in the pockets of his suit trousers, gentle and polite. When he sullened his face and did not speak, his alienated and cold temperament became even worse. Cha-Cha saw that her mother was not in the living room, he hesitated for a while, and then slowly walked to the man. She was still a child who hadn't grown up, but she spoke word by word and looked at it very seriously. She asked seriously, are you my mother's boyfriend? Zhang Chengzhou put away the cold color on his face, his eyes automatically turned softer when he looked at her, he smiled and admitted, yes. He only promised that Chu Qingying would not tell his daughter for the time being that he was her father. But he will slowly approach his daughter, and when she can accept it, he will tell her his identity and take them back to Jiang's house. Cha-Cha bit her lip, originally wanting to let him pretend to be her uncle to help her attend the parent conference. But after another thought, forget it. He is his mother's boyfriend, and he certainly won't help her to hide it. Zhang Chengzhou waited patiently for the little girl to speak. Seeing her with rich expression and embarrassment, he held back a low smile. He asked, Cha-Cha, what's wrong? Cha-Cha looked like a cat with fried hair, and the expression in her dark eyes suddenly became alert. She said, nothing. She tilted her head back and her voice was soft, don't try to please me. If you are not good to my mother, I will not accept you. Zhang Chengzhou wanted to squeeze her soft and white face very much. Without holding back, he bent down and squatted, gently squeezing her cheek with his fingers. Cha-Cha is so cute. Cha-Cha, QAQ. He really wanted to please me. He even pinched her face. Too much. Cha-Cha's ears instantly turned red, it's useless to praise me, and don't pinch my face casually. Zhang Chengzhou wished to take his cute daughter home now, he held back his smile, okay. Chu Qingying found Zhang Chen's watch on the bedside table, took it out and stuffed it into his hand, trying to drive him away, not paying attention to the subtleties between father and daughter. Zhang Chengzhou took the watch and said in her ear, "Be obedient, be good, don't think about running. The surrounding area has been covered with nets, and Chu Qingying has nowhere to escape." Zhang Chengzhou didn't want to force it too much. After getting in the car, he ordered the driver to drive out. The fat mother on the other side came out to pour water and saw a luxury car parked at Chu Qingying's house. She was sour and curious. Then she saw that the driver sitting inside was 30 or 40 years old. She thought it must be Chu Qingying's flower shop that could not be opened by a junior. She tugged, "It's really shameless, cheap." Cha cruelly smashed the piggy bank, took 400 yuan from it, held it in her hand, and went out in the evening. She wanted to spend some money to buy a parent and go to school for her mother. After turning around, no suitable candidate was found. Cha sighed, bought a piece of ice cream from a small shop, sat on the stone chair at the door, and slowly licked it. The scalp suddenly hurt, and her ponytail was gently pulled back. Cha jumped his feet, looked back, and it turned out to be the nasty ghost. "If you pull my braids again, I will tell my mother that you hit me." The young man was wearing a black t-shirt, and the dangling man should sit next to him, his eyebrows full of attractive smiles. "You are a delicious ghost." Cha doesn't want to care about him, it is him who hates it most. Studying countdown, love to make trouble, speak mean, always like to tease and bully her. It's none of your business. Cha stood up, turned and left. Wen Huai also followed her step by step. "How can you say that you get angry with just one sentence?" Cha closed her mouth, secretly determined not to say a word to him. "Chu Ti. Daughter-in-law Shen." Cha couldn't bear it anymore, her face blushed. "Can you stop bullying me?" Wen Huai pulled off her braids again and snatched away the lollipop from her hand. He lazily said, "No. Cha, I hate you." Wen Huai said, "I hate you too," pretending to be pure. He really hates the appearance of a good boy like Cha. The innocent girl is the most troublesome. After following all the way to the door of the house, Wen Huai did not continue to bother her. The teacher asked Cha why her parents did not come the next day. Cha said without changing her face, "My mother has gone abroad." The teacher was annoyed, "Then let your father come." Cha replied, "But I don't have a father." Before the teacher died of anger, Cha said, "But I have an uncle, teacher, let my uncle come on Friday, okay?" The teacher reluctantly said, "All right." Cha thinks that she should be able to call that handsome uncle, the big deal is to give him money. She hadn't been in the mood to go to class all day, lying on the table in a panic. Went to the cafeteria for dinner at noon. Cha gave Shenji a meal by the way, and helped him get a place. Shenji gave her all the cod in the lunch box. "I don't eat fish." The tea was received happily, and I ate it all in one bite. Chen Xinyi sighed in her ear, "You have a very good relationship with Shenji. You should be his best friend." Shenji is also indifferent to anyone, and he is naturally alienated from the crowd. It is the flower of jailing, a girl in the school that Xiao can't think of, and only Cha is close to him in the school. Cha proudly said, "He and I are childhood sweethearts who grew up together." At 4:50 in the afternoon, the school bell rang. It was Shenji's turn today, and a shower suddenly started outside. Cha was packing her school bags, and heard Chen Xinyi exclaimed, "Cha, it's raining, have you brought an umbrella?" Cha nodded, "I brought it." She raised her eyes, "Has it rained?" Chen Xinyi said yes, the rain is quite heavy, but fortunately we all carry umbrellas. The corridors were crowded with students without umbrellas, and they had to wait for the rain to stop before leaving the school. Cha took the folding umbrella out of her school bag and thought for a few seconds. She secretly put the umbrella in the drawer of Shenji's desk, and then rushed into the heavy rain with her school bag on her head, and ran to the bus stop sign at the school gate. His hair was wet, his school uniform was wet with rain, and his face was pale. Cha-Cha fell ill and caught a cold the next day, and went to school in a dizzy mind. She couldn't open her eyes since the morning class. Before the Chinese class, the head teacher took a new classmate into the classroom, and did not introduce the classmates, so she arranged a seat for her. Chen Xinyi couldn't help but wake up Cha-Cha. The transfer student is here, she is so pretty. Cha-Cha looked up and saw that the new transfer school grew up very beautifully, tall, with long legs and a thin waist, long black and supple hair, bright and dark eyes, lively and bright, confident and generous. Cha-Cha was dumbfounded, and then I heard the transfer student's voice, "Hello everyone, this is Zhang Miaoyan." The head teacher looked at the vacant seat beside Shen Ji, looked at him and asked, "Shen Ji, can you let Zhang Miaoyan be at the same table for the time being?" Cha-Cha's breathing suddenly stagnated, silently clenching her fingers, and listening to his answer with ears. After 10 seconds of silence, Shen Ji did not refuse this time. Cha-Cha heard him say, "Yes. Okay, the sky is here. The initial preparation will not be very long. Cha-Cha is still the favorite of my father and brother. AO continue to send red envelopes for messages in this chapter. Cha-Cha, I'm the heroine Wu Wu Tt Zhang Cheng Zhou, called Dad. See you tomorrow. When there are more words there will be more. Wailing love everyone. Asterisk thanks to the little angel who voted for me or irrigated the nutrient solution during 2020082811:25:262020082912:19:54 Thanks to the little angel who irrigates the nutrient solution, 191-076-8358 bottles, 20 bottles of You Are Not White, say 5 bottles of hamsters who love milk tea, 1 bottle of CHANT1Y. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. I like Xiao Qingmei in the article I am the heroine of heaven, please collect it, I am the heroine of heaven, whose literature is updated the fastest. Cha-Cha squeezed the ballpoint pen in his hand and pressed his fingers hard, drawing a long strip of water blue ink on the workbook. She lowered her face in silence, feeling an indescribable offense in her heart. Chen Xinyi didn't notice the change in Cha-Cha's mood, she propped her chin to speak. Zhang Miaoyan seems to be a little shorter than Shen Ji, she is almost 1 meter 7. A pair of legs are thin and long, and the waist is slender, and they are better developed than them. Cha-Cha straightened her mouth and said dully, I'm 14 too. Why is she only 1 meter and 5 meters away? Chen Xinyi is also 1 meter 6. Cha-Cha turned her head and glanced back, and Shen Ji seemed to get along well with Xin at the same table. Zhang Miaoyan's appearance is the kind that makes people look at it for a while, bright and lively, and vigorous like the morning sun. Before transferring to another school, Zhang Miaoyan once met Shen Ji in a math competition and remembered this very good-looking boy. Unexpectedly, by such a coincidence, the two became the same table. Zhang Miaoyan had also heard that Shen Ji's family background was not very good, and she was reticent. She tidied her desk, smiled faintly at Shen Ji, and said, Shen, can you borrow me your notes? Shen Ji frowned, I don't take notes. Zhang Miaoyan, who is one of the best in his studies, does not take notes, I just want to know the progress of the teacher's lecture. Shen Ji's brows became a ball, and there was no sound. Zhang Miaoyan smiled brightly at him, and pushed her book to his desk as familiarly as she said, Thank you, classmate Shen, to help me draw, can you? Shen Ji silently took it, hesitating for a few seconds, and took out a black pen to draw the textbook for her. Although Zhang Miaoyan's grades are good, she is not a nerd who listens to everything the teacher says, so she can talk to Mr. Shen when there is nothing to do in class. The first Chinese class after the transfer was named by the teacher, but she still continued to whisper to Shen Ji with a smile. Lian Li, Shen Ji and her were called up by the teacher and stood in their respective seats for a lesson. Zhang Miaoyan secretly said to Shen Ji, Shen, I'm sorry, I will invite you to drink tomorrow. She has light makeup, fair skin, and thick eyelashes. She is looking at you with a smile with her eyes bent, making people embarrassed to say something bad. Shen Ji glanced at her, silently averted his gaze, and stopped talking. Cha-Cha felt uncomfortable when she saw the scene of Shen Ji and his new classmate standing together. After class, Cha-Cha couldn't sit still, and went to Shen Ji's seat to chat with him, fingers subconsciously wanted to pull his sleeves, and then curled up silently. She asked, Ji, teacher won't be angry with you? Shen Ji shook his head, comforted her and said, it's okay, no. Zhang Miaoyan looked at her with a smile, I blame me today, I talk too much, and tired classmate Shen. She took 2 lumps of candy out of her school bag, gave one to Shen Ji, and stuffed one into Cha-Cha's hand, here, please eat candy. Zhang Miaoyan is a very cheerful and enthusiastic person. This is the first impression of Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha tried to suppress the weird feeling in her heart, and repeatedly warned herself to be friendly and kind to the new classmates. Classmate Zhang Miaoyan is kind and easy to get along with. She shouldn't be jealous or jealous. Cha-Cha slowly loosened her clenched fingers in her sleeves, and she let out a sigh of relief, thank you. Before school in the evening, Cha-Cha put away his homework and handed it to the office, and then went home with Shen Ji as usual. Every day when he sits in the back seat of his bicycle is the happiest time for tea. She is carefree and has no troubles, facing the wind, smelling the familiar smell on his body, gently swinging her feet, talking to him one by one. Cha-Cha seems to have endless words to Shen Ji, and he is never tireless. As long as you stay with Ji, that morning's unhappiness will be wiped out. When he arrived at the door of the house, Cha-Cha stood on the steps and waved to him obediently, Ji, see you tomorrow. Well, see you tomorrow. Cha-Cha didn't notice that a very expensive car had been parked in front of her yard, and when she opened the door, she discovered that the man who had been here yesterday was here again today. Zhang Chengzhou looked at his daughter softly and touched her head without authorization. He said, Cha-Cha, I brought you a present today. President Zhang was not ashamed to ask. Just after returning home yesterday, he asked a friend who has experience in raising a daughter what kind of gift he would like to give the little girl. Because of this, President Zhang was teased by his friends on the phone, my daughter likes beautiful little skirts. So Zhang Chengzhou listened to the suggestion, and personally picked a few beautiful skirts and had them wrap them up in his car. Zhang Chengzhou originally wanted to send some expensive jewelry, but Cha-Cha is still young, so it's only suitable for her to send jewelry when she is older. Cha-Cha has a guilty conscience at this time because there is something to ask for. Zhang Chengzhou opened the gift box, looked at her gently and asked, do you like it? Cha-Cha lightly picked up the little skirt and was amazed almost at first glance. Oh, so beautiful! There are so many shining little diamonds. She was very reserved, it's okay. She couldn't bear to remove her hands from the little skirt. This is the most beautiful little skirt she has ever seen. It feels soft, the fabric is comfortable, and the workmanship is fine. Cha-Cha's face was only the size of Zhang Chengzhou's palm. She tilted her neck up obediently, looking up at him with clear water eyes, her voice was soft and sweet, and she asked a little uneasy, will it be expensive? It must be expensive. It doesn't look cheap. Cha-Cha returned the gift box to him. Although he was reluctant, he still said, you can take it to the store and return it. Zhang Chengzhou was sad and distressed, why is his baby girl so sensible? It can be seen that Chu Qingying raised her daughter very well, kind, innocent, smart and sensible. He squeezed his daughter's cheek, not expensive. Only tens of thousands of dollars, what is it? Cha-Cha doubted, really? Really, do you like Cha-Cha? Cha-Cha couldn't tell a lie, she lowered her red face and whispered, I like it. Zhang Chengzhou's heart is soft and unpretentious. His daughter is so cute. In the evening, before Zhang Chengzhou was leaving, Cha-Cha uncharacteristically said that he would give him away. She put on slippers in a hurry and made a long psychological preparation. She asked, "Uncle, can you do me a favor?" Zhang Chengzhou was stunned. "Well, you said." Cha-Cha grabbed his hand and dragged him farther from the doorway. The palm of the girl's hand was small and incredibly soft. Zhang Chengzhou stiffened all over, letting her pull herself. Cha-Cha squeezed and was embarrassed and said, "Tomorrow, can you come to my school and help me see the teacher?" Zhang Chengzhou was stunned for a second and then reacted. He lowered his eyes, looked at the nervous little girl, and laughed blankly. It turned out to be called the parent. He asked, "Why don't you let your mother go?" Cha-Cha said, not very happy, "No." She didn't want to see her mother bow her head for herself and the teachers and classmates, and apologize for her. Her mother has been very hard. Cha-Cha's eyes turned red and her nose was sour, and she felt like she was about to cry. "If you don't want to, then I can pay you." As she said, she took out 4 red banknotes from her trouser pocket. "Hard. Squeeze it into his palm, I gave it all to you." Zhang Chengzhou looked at the money in his hand and said with a smile, "I don't want the money for tea." Cha-Cha sniffed and mumbled softly, "Yes, don't you be embarrassed to cheat the kid's money." He did not give a definite answer for a long time. Cha-Cha waited impatiently. She lowered her face, crying and said, "If you don't agree, then forget it." How could Zhang Chengzhou not agree? Seeing the tear marks on the little girl's face, President Jiang's heart was broken. He bent over to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. "Don't cry, is it tomorrow morning?" "Anything? Do I need to do anything? I haven't seen the teacher." Zhang Chen never needed him to worry about his studies. He was independent since he was a child, and his temperament was like him. As for his mother's insistence on acknowledging the adopted daughter by her side, Zhang Chengzhou never cared about her, nor did she recognize her identity. Just pastime. Cha-Cha felt ashamed of herself, and she said, "Whatever the teacher said, you just said, yeah, you're right, I listened to it." Zhang Chengzhou frowned, "Okay." Zhang Chengzhou wanted to see what happened in the school. Cha-Cha grabbed his sleeves, worried, and told him again, "You must come, just say it's my uncle, don't let my mother know." "It is good." Cha-Cha still didn't believe him, and stretched out her little finger, "Let's pull the hook." Zhang Chengzhou naturally followed her in everything, including this kind of childish behavior, which felt cute and loving. After school at noon on Friday, Cha-Cha ran fast after class. Before the long line was formed, he had 2 meals and occupied the position under the fan. When Shen Ji was eating, he was absent-minded, took only 2 bites, and then put down his chopsticks. Cha-Cha asked, "Ji, what's the matter with you?" Shen Ji shook his head. The young man was in a period of voice change, and his voice was not unpleasant, but it was a little low. He said, "It's okay." Cha-Cha said, "Then you eat more. Today's sweet and sour pork loin is delicious." She whispered, "I was so sleepy this morning, sitting in the front row was stared at by the teachers so that I didn't dare to sleep, and I felt like I was sleepwalking in a daze while attending class." The teenager didn't seem to listen to her seriously. He was unsure, and then stood up, "Cha-Cha, I have something to do. I will go back to the classroom first." Cha-Cha said, "You don't have much food." Shen Ji ran out, the hem of the t-shirt fluttering in the wind. The teenager has a thin back and a vigorous posture. Cha-Cha looked at the pile of food left on his plate, silently lowered his eyes, and had no appetite. In order to grab his favorite sweet and sour pork ribs, Cha-Cha struggled to squeeze in from the crowd. She was trampled on her feet, and her toes still hurt. Chen Xinyi bought a bottle of drink and came to look for her. What did Shen Ji rush out to do? Did he eat? Cha-Cha shook his head, "I don't know, he didn't eat it." Chen Xinyi said, "I just saw him in a convenience store. I don't know what he bought. It is packed in a black plastic bag. I will ask him later." Cha-Cha finished the meal listlessly and returned to the classroom for lunch break. It was not there yet and there were not many people in the classroom. Cha-Cha looked subconsciously to the seat of Shenji. Zhang Miaoyan was lying on the table with a pale face, a sandwich and a bottle of warm milk were placed beside the pile of books. Sandwich is the one Shenji often eats. Cha-Cha's eyes rested on the school uniform jacket tied around her waist. On the cuffs of the jacket, she wrote Shenji's name with a black ballpoint pen. Cha-Cha felt her heart pierced by something. Cha-Cha couldn't help but walked over to Zhang Miaoyan and reminded her aloud, "The one in your pocket is about to fall out." A piece of sanitary napkin in pink packaging. Zhang Miaoyan blushed and immediately put it away, "Thank you." She blinked and said shyly, that suddenly came and got my pants on, so I had to borrow a stubborn coat to block it." Cha-Cha pursed his mouth, "Yet," she thought, "Shenji clearly has a cleanliness addiction." Cha-Cha asked again, "Then you still have?" Zhang Miaoyan said, "No, I trouble Shenji to help me buy it in a small store. You don't know, he didn't want it at all at first, and insisted that he didn't go, let me go by myself." In just one day, Zhang Miaoyan seemed to have become acquainted with Shenji. She continued, "He bought it for me after class and brought me food. Shen's Heroine is really good, don't you think, Cha-Cha?" Cha-Cha stiffened her neck and nodded hard, "Well, yes. Shenji is very good." Cha-Cha has known since childhood. She sat back in her seat in despair, her heart clumped together, and a sour feeling spread in her chest. She feels herself seems jealous. Cha-Cha has not recovered from this incident. The director of teaching does not know where he heard that Chu-Cha pushed Zhang Ruan. After hurting others, he refused to admit it. The director of teaching had some contact with Jiang's family, and his husband's business was also it depends on the Jiang family's expression. So of course she was standing on Zhang Ruan's side. She called Cha-Cha out of the classroom at noon on Friday, and the director of the teaching calmly opened her face and said in a bad tone, "Chu-Cha, are you sure your parents will come today? If you repeatedly lie to the teacher and shirk your classmates, I can only suggest that you go home and stay for a while, and then come back to class when you know you are wrong." "President Zhang, hey? Cha-Cha, woo woo woo. Have you started to pry one by one? Distressed daughter woo woo woo, I am the heroine of the Heroine Xiao King Mei's literature update fastest." Cha-Cha had never received such a severe warning. The director of the teacher had a stern expression, staring at her with cold eyes, and looked up and down her whole body. Cha-Cha lowered her face, thinking that the uncle shouldn't lie to her. She said, "My uncle will be here today." The dean believed what she was saying, but his face was still ugly, and he warned, "Don't do anything." She has been a teaching director for so many years, and it is not uncommon for her to find someone to replace the parent. Cha-Cha bowed her head and did not speak, and began to worry about what to do if her teacher found out that she had cheated. After the first get out of class in the afternoon, Zhang Chen's car drove into the school, black KN, low-key luxury. Only the driver was brought, not the bodyguard. The school leaders heard that Zhang Chengzhou was coming, and was stunned for a long time. The presence of the great figure of the Zhang family made them feel uneasy. What happened? The Dean of Education had a black face, the daughter of President Zhang was bullied. President Zhang should have come for this matter. The principal was very dissatisfied with this, "Don't happen again on campus bullying. This time we must deal with it seriously and give all students a warning." The dean nodded, "Okay." Waiting for Chu-Cha's parents to come in a while, she must let the parents take their children home and discipline them. Zhang Ruan didn't know that her father was here, showing off with classmates in the classroom. Zhang Chengzhou went directly to the office of the junior high school and instructed the director to be polite, "Mr. Zhang, it is all a misunderstanding among children. We will definitely deal with it seriously so that Jianjin will not be wronged." Zhang Chengzhou sat down in a suit and leather shoes with a cold expression. He raised his eyebrows, "My daughter. He hasn't recognized Cha-Cha back to Jiang's family, and it stands to reason that no one knows yet. The Dean of Teaching poured him a cup of tea himself. President Zhang can rest assured that Zhang Ruan has performed well in school, and this time it is not her fault. As she said, she coldly said, "Go and call Chu Cha from the first class and ask her to apologize in person." Zhang Chen's whose face turned completely cold, and the Dean of Instruction probably told him about the matter once, and he guessed what was going on with a little thought. How can TT have such a soft temperament? On the contrary, Zhang Ruan has been spoiled by his family in recent years, a little bit of ignorance. He really regards himself as a daughter, arrogant and domineering. Now he is still bullying his daughter on the head? Zhang Chengzhou laughed contemptuously. The dean was surprised by his cold eyes. Cha-Cha was called to the office by the teacher, and she was ready to be scolded. If she wanted to be scolded, she would be scolded, and Shiny Chiran passed. In the office, she saw the uncle she invited. I was a little happy, he didn't lie to her. She raised her eyes and said, "Teacher, this is my uncle." The dean's face was startled. "No, isn't this Zhang Ruan's father?" Zhang Chengzhou stood up, looked at her coldly, and said blankly, "I am the parent of Cha-Cha. I probably understand what you said just now. The school corridors are monitored. If the school wronged Cha-Cha, I will definitely be held accountable." "Mr. Zhang." Zhang Chengzhou violently interrupted her words, "As for Zhang Ruan, if you make a mistake, you will be punished. Just handle it as the teacher said earlier. Apologize, write an inspection, suspend classes, and go home for reflection." The Dean of Teaching never thought that President Zhang was actually supporting Chu Cha, who had no background. Why is there a man in the world who helps outsiders but not his own daughter? She laughed awkwardly. "Mr. Zhang, will this?" Zhang Chengzhou has never seen Zhang Ruan as his own daughter. It was a girl adopted by others in the Zhang family to make his mother happy. He casually said, "Just so, I beg you to apologize to Cha-Cha." Thinking of her daughter's tears last night because she was called a parent, Zhang Chengzhou rarely got angry. Anyone can give her daughter angry? The dean's face changed, and even if she was reluctant, she had to do it obediently. She smiled kindly at Cha-Cha. "Student Chu Cha, it was the teacher who misunderstood you before. I'm really sorry. TT is ignorant. It's nice not to be scolded. I am really happy without having to apologize." She said, "Oh. It's class time, and there are no people in the hallway when I leave the office." Cha-Cha stopped, looked up at him, then took out the candy in his pocket and handed it to him. "Uncle, thank you today, I will treat you to candy." Zhang Chengzhou accepted the gummy candy from his daughter, and his heart was as sweet as he had eaten honey. "Cha-Cha will be bullied by someone in the future, so you have to tell me." "Cha-Cha, why tell you? You are not my father." Zhang Chengzhou was choked and had nothing to say. He asked, "Then do you want a dad?" Cha-Cha lowered her head, "I don't have a father, and my mother said that my father is gone." Zhang Chengzhou was angry and hated, and the cruel woman Chu Qingying told her daughter that he was dead. Cha-Cha pouted her mouth and said to herself, "And I'm used to it. Sometimes I get used to being bullied. Being laughed at and targeted when playing games." Zhang Chen's whose distressed eyes were red. He squatted down, holding Cha-Cha's hands, his cold eyes melted for her. "Uncle will protect you in the future." Cha-Cha was a little embarrassed. She said, "Thank you, Uncle, you are such a good person. Mom has a good vision." Cha-Cha didn't want to waste too much time for him, for fear of delaying his work. She said, "Uncle, go and work on your own affairs." She asked with some worry, "Uncle, did you ask for leave today? You won't be fired by the boss." "Asked for leave. That's good, Uncle has to work hard, Cha-Cha will also study hard." Zhang Chengzhou was a little bit reluctant to leave his daughter, wishing to make up for what he had missed in the previous 10 years. His baby girl, behaved, makes him feel bad. He doesn't need his daughter to be so sensible, he even wants to be a wayward eldest lady. Jiang Chengzhou touched her face before leaving. Uncle is gone, see you tomorrow. Goodbye. After the matter of calling the parents is over. Cha-Cha returned to her carefree and trouble-free. She listened carefully in get out of class and went to talk to Shenji after class. But these days, she went to Shenji and found that he was always arguing with his new table mate. The two were noisy, and sometimes they didn't stop after the class, and they were called by the teacher to stop by the door. Cha-Cha is short, sitting by the window in the second row. In early autumn, the window was opened to dissipate heat, and their conversations passed into Cha-Cha's ears without fail. She heard Zhang Miaoyan apologize to him in a low voice. I told you I'm sorry, what are you doing with a stinky face? It's too stingy, we are now in trouble seeing the truth. Shenji, you have to smile more. It's nothing to be sullied and pretending to be deep. You look good when you smile, and you are more handsome than the school grass. Shenji was disturbed by Zhang Miaoyan. He said, next time you do bad things, don't call me. I won't help you with it anymore. Zhang Miaoyan smiled and said, I'm sorry, thank you. TT sounds very unpleasant. Jealousy can make people ugly. She didn't want to be jealous. But she couldn't control her heart. Cha-Cha felt that she became very different in front of Zhang Miaoyan. He is not a temperament who can quarrel with others, he is very polite and gentle. But he always got angry with Zhang Miaoyan, and naively told her not to talk to Zhang Miaoyan. Cha-Cha has something in her heart and can't be happy. In physical education class, absent-minded. After free activities, she ran to the small shop to buy 2 bottles of water, accidentally stepped on the empty stairs, sat on the ground and fell severely, her ankles creaked, and she immediately burst into tears. Cha-Cha limped and walked back to the classroom. A bottle of water was placed on Shenji's table, and a bottle was drunk slowly. Since Zhang Miaoyan transferred to the class, Shenji and the classmates in the back row have played very well, and they seem to have become a new small group. Groups that can't melt tea. The bell rang after class, and the students returned to the classroom one after another. Cha-Cha saw Shenji and Zhang Miaoyan walking together. Zhang Miaoyan was wearing a white dress, sweating after the sun, and there was no makeup on her face. She saw the ice water on Shenji's table and naturally held it in her hand. Shenji, I'm so thirsty, this bottle on your table I drank the water. Shenji's forehead was dripping with delicate and cold sweat, and it fell on his Adam's apple along his chin. His skin became whiter as he tanned. He glanced at him, well, you can drink it. Cha-Cha fists are hard. That can. Yes. She was. By. Of. Water. The tea bought for Shenji was Nongfia Spring for 2 yuan. Drink ice dew for $1. Too much. It's too much. After school in the evening, Cha-Cha walked cautiously, unable to see the abnormality of her ankles. She was depressed and sat on a stubborn bicycle. She couldn't help but first asked, Azzy, can you get along with Zhang Miaoyan? Shenji, who usually couldn't hear it, answered quickly this time, no, why do you ask? Cha-Cha grabbed the hem of his t-shirt, you always quarrel, I think you can't get along. Shenji smiled. The corners of his mouth were bent, although the slight smile was fleeting, it was still caught by Cha-Cha. He said, we were playing around. The tea is low. She opened her mouth, then do you, like playing with her? Shenji did not deny, he said, she is actually not bad, she is very outgoing. Okay. Cha-Cha thought, maybe she was too careful. As soon as the car rode out of the school gate, Shenji answered the phone, and the other party hurriedly said to him, Zhang Miaoyan was blocked at the school gate after school. Shenji immediately braked. Cha-Cha's forehead hit his back, but she hadn't reacted yet. She had been left by Shenji. The young man's eyes were flustered, and he was sorry to say to her, "Cha-cha, you go home first. I still have something to do." He dropped his head after speaking and was about to leave on his bike. Cha-cha subconsciously grabbed his arm and said in a very small voice, "Aji, my feet hurt today." Shenji straightened his mouth and said softly, "Cha-cha, I really have something important." He thought she was self-willed. Cha-cha squeezed the strap of the school bag tightly, her face was white, her lips were white, and the pain in her ankles seemed nothing. She looked at his distant back, her heart sour and full. Cha-cha did not carry any excess money with him, and spent as much as he brought with him every day. The last few dollars were used to buy water. She had no choice but to drag her swollen ankle and walked for more than half an hour before getting home. Cha-cha's ankle was so painful that she didn't feel it. Passing by the door, she heard the fat mother talking about the neighborhood leader. Her words were very harsh. "I tell you, Chu Qingying is just going to be the old man's junior. There are still fakes I saw with my own eyes. That car is worth millions. The man in the car is old and ugly, but they are rich, and they are probably happy to accompany/sleep. No wonder her flower shop has never closed down. But she may not be a junior, maybe she is a minor 4 or 5. My son really didn't make a mistake when he called Chu Cha a wild species. The ghost knows who her father is. Anyone is possible. Cha-cha, water mine. It's mine. Shenji, I'm sorry President Zhang. Mistress? The female partner is not bad and the male lead cannot be said to be scumbag. Probably the story of single arrow cycle. See you tomorrow. Don't fatten up everyone. This update will be very powerful, because the pancake outline I am the heroine of heaven, whose literature is updated the fastest. Zhang Ruan came home that night and was stopped by his brother standing in the living room when he went upstairs. Zhang Ruan was very happy in his heart. Her brother was not close to her, and never cared about her or talked to her very much. She was a little nervous. "Brother, is there anything you called me?" The tall and thin boy in front of him is wearing a white t-shirt, with a narrow waist, wide shoulders and long legs, a superior skeleton, handsome facial features, thin lips drawn into a cold straight line, his eyes are refracted into a light glaze color by the sun, he is curved at the corner of his mouth. He said without any emotion, "I am not your brother, don't call me brother." Zhang Ruan's face went pale all at once, as if he was shaken by a heavy blow. He didn't have any distressed emotions, his hands in his pockets, his expression was cold and plain, and every word he uttered between his lips and teeth was very indifferent. "Zhang Ruan, I warn you, don't mess with Chucha again." He sneered angrily when he heard about this from his father today. Everyone in the Zhang family knew about Zhang Ruan's adoption, including Zhang Ruan himself. Their Zhang family has never treated her wrongly. Zhang Ruan bullied others because he was spoiled for nothing. Cha-cha is his sister, Zhang Ruan is nothing. With tears in Zhang Ruan's eyes, he fell down like a broken wire. He didn't even dare to call his brother, crying and ran back to the room upstairs. It was her brother who spoke ruthlessly and indifferently just now, who was a little horrible, and the brother who spoke softly to Chu Cha in school was pretending to be. Zhang Ruan had been respectful and scared of her brother since she was a child. She was a little jealous and thought, why can Chu Cha easily get her brother's love? Cha Cha and Fatty Mom quarreled. She couldn't hear the words that slandered her mother, and ignored her heart-wrenching ankles. She walked over with a fierce voice, "Don't talk nonsense." The other people just listened to the excitement, and when they heard Cha-cha, their old faces burned, feeling very embarrassed, and immediately shut up. But the fat mother has been a charter wife for many years, she has a vigorous personality, a very thick skin, and a very mean speech. Would she still be afraid that a child will fail? The fat mother said, "What are you yelling at? I saw it with my own eyes. The blame is on your mother for her own disorder. When your mother came to Carry Lane, I rented the house to her. There was no man around the big belly, and there was so much money. What else could it be if the mistress was kicked out? You and me, what's the use of being angry? There is a reason why Fat Mom hates Chu Qing-ying so much. It wasn't just because Chu Qing-ying was so beautiful that people were jealous. She saw that Chu Qing-ying had a big belly and was so rich that she was cheating, so she sold the house opposite to her at a price much higher than the market price. Who knows that within a few years, this land has risen. House prices have doubled eightfold. Fatty Mother wanted to return the house and resell it again, but was rejected by Chu Qing-ying. From then on, she kept this note in her heart. Cha-Cha had never quarreled with anyone, she was outraged. No one thought that the tea party, which usually looks well-behaved and ingenious, suddenly rushed over to squeeze the fat mother's hair. Oh, are you crazy? Let go. Chubby Mom's scalp was sore, her expression on her face was distorted, and when she was relieved, she was about to hit Cha-Cha's face with a slap, but was stopped by the neighbors around her. Fatty Mother, don't bully a kid. Originally, you speak badly. It's okay to tell people right and wrong behind their backs. Fatty Mother was unwilling to stop and closed her door angrily. Cha-Cha's clothes were messy, and there were a few yellow hairs torn off between her fingers. She threw them into the trash can and dragged her limp back home. Then lie on the bed and wipe away the tears secretly. Mother is not at home. It should be not off work yet. Chu Qing-ying still doesn't know what happened at home. Her flower shop is actually pretty good, and the young girls nearby love to order flowers from her. The flower shop is tasteful, the proprietress is beautiful and gentle, and the customers are happy to come again. Before Chu Qing-ying closed the shop that day, Zhang Chengzhou took her into the car and drove the car all the way to the apartment where she stayed for 4 years. Chu Qing-ying refused to go up. The soles of her feet were soft and pale, and her pitiful appearance was pitiful. She was forced to stay in the arms of the man and whispered, "Let's change a place, please." The man's decision will not change because of this, go up. Over the past 10 years, the furnishings in the apartment have hardly changed. Even the sealed windows are still the same. At the beginning, the windows and balcony were sealed, not for fear of her running away, but for fear that she would not want to go to death. Zhang Chengzhou pinched her chin and kissed her first. "I really thought you were dead that year. All thoughts are ashamed, blood and tears shed." If it were not for his young son, Zhang Chengzhou would probably not be able to get out. He also didn't think that the weak Chu Qing-ying could be so courageous, using fake death to deceive him. Zhang Chengzhou said as he untied the belt around his waist, threw the woman onto the big bed, raised her legs, and said dumbly, "Have you missed this place?" There was mist in Chu Qing-ying's eyes. "Cha-Cha is about to end school, I'm going back to make dinner for her." Zhang Chengzhou glanced at the watch on his wrist. "No hurry, enough time." After the work, Chu Qing-ying got up with difficulty from the bed, and Zhang Chengzhou followed her back to the alley. The two of them did not know that their daughter was wronged. Chu Qing-ying knocked on her daughter's door, drank a lot of water, her voice was still very hoarse. "Tea, what do you want to eat tonight?" Chu Qing-ying opened the door softly, and her daughter fell asleep on the bed, half of her face turned red, her curved eyelashes fell under her eyelids, and she was sleeping peacefully. She helped her daughter cover the quilt and closed the door again. When Cha-Cha woke up, Chu Qing-ying had just made dinner. 3 dishes and 1 soup are the favorites of Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha's hair was curled up, and the expression on her face looked a bit silly, ignorant of the cutie. Zhang Chengzhou rubbed her hair. "Are you awake?" Cha-Cha nodded, "Yet." Zhang Chengzhou asked again, "Are you hungry?" I also blame him for being a bit out of control behind and delaying the time to come back. It would be no good if his daughter was hungry because of this. Cha-Cha thought for a while, "It's okay." Zhang Chengzhou noticed that her walking posture was wrong. What happened to her feet? Cha-Cha didn't want them to know that it was too late to move her foot. Zhang Chengzhou directly hugged her to the sofa, rolled up her trouser legs, and looked at the swollen ankle, his expression increasingly gloomy. He got up, found the medicine cabinet smoothly, and gave her medicine for reducing swelling and pain. Cha-Cha whispered, "I accidentally fell, don't tell Mom." Zhang Chengzhou didn't agree. Cha-Cha is in a hurry, Mom will be worried. I can't sleep when I'm worried. Zhang Chengzhou reluctantly responded to his difficulties. This night Zhang Chengzhou didn't have time to stay longer. When he was about to leave, the little girl came out again and stood in front of him. She hadn't really grown up yet. When he couldn't reach his chest, he thought the little girl had something to ask him for help. Cha-Cha stared into his eyes, her beautiful eyebrows frowned, "Do you have a wife?" Zhang Chengzhou. Cha-Cha was very angry. She thought her mother was cheated by this good-looking stinky man. "You don't want to come to my house anymore, I hate you." Although Zhang Chengzhou didn't know why his daughter asked this, he answered her, "Apart from your mother, I have no other women and no family." Cha-Cha felt that she had to check it off for her mother. "Uncle, do you really like my mother? The person I love the most is her." Cha-Cha is still a child, no matter how pretending that an adult hears this, he will blush. Zhang Chengzhou smiled and said, "Is there anything else you want to ask Cha-Cha?" Cha-Cha, "No, goodbye uncle." She turned and ran back to her room upstairs. After finishing the homework assigned by the teacher, it was 9 o'clock in the evening. After taking a shower, Cha-Cha lay down on the bed. She leaned on the pillow to read a comic book and was about to turn off the light to go to sleep. She heard Shen Ji's adoptive mother's loud insults, "Why are you coming back now? Just die outside." Cha-Cha suddenly lost sleep. Shen Ji hurriedly went home after school and didn't know where he went. She suddenly discovered that Shen Ji had his secret. He seems to have more and more friends. A better friend than her. Soon after, Cha-Cha ushered in the first midterm exam for entering junior high school. After the exam, it gradually entered the winter. Cha-Cha loves winter. Shen Ji was born in winter, and his birthday is November 30th. Cha-Cha remembers that Shen Ji also likes winter and snowy days. She always remembered his preferences clearly. And what he said, she also remembered in her heart. When playing with the family in the kindergarten, the 6-year-old Shen Ji seriously said that she wanted to be his bride. For Shen Ji's birthday, Cha-Cha started to look at the weather forecast half a month in advance. In previous years, the snowy days would always go until December. She thought that if Shen Ji's birthday could get him a heavy snowfall, it would be great. During this period, she quietly saved all the pocket money her mother gave, and never went to the small shop after class. Chen Xinyi asked her what happened. Cha-Cha said, "I lose weight." Chen Xinyi, "Sister, you are already very thin." Cha-Cha pouted, "Don't call my sister." Otherwise she always thought Shen Ji was calling her. Cha-Cha looked at Chen Xinyi and asked, "Xiaoi, do you have free money? Can you lend me some first?" She wanted to buy Shen Ji a pair of sneakers and give him a birthday present. That pair of shoes cost more than 1,000 yuan, and Cha-Cha took out all the money in the piggy bank for only 700 yuan. "I can lend you 200, but what are you doing?" Cha-Cha told her of her plan, and then frowned, "But the money is still not enough." Chen Xinyi also knew that she had a good relationship with Shen Ji, and Zhu Ma's birthday was of course very important, so she gave her an idea. "The newly opened mall seems to be sending out flyers, 120 yuan a day." Cha-Cha said bitterly, "People don't want to be underage. My brother works part-time there. I asked him to quietly stuff you in. You can distribute flyers on weekends." Cha-Cha thought it was feasible. "Okay, thank you." Chen Xinyi didn't take it seriously, so she changed the subject. "Your Zima has been very popular recently, and has become a lot more cheerful. The back row can be noisy, and they will talk back to the teacher now." Cha-Cha knows. The few people in the back row didn't like to study very much. They had money at home, looked good, and liked small moves. The most overwhelming thing was that once, a few people formed a group and had a mobile group chat in class. The teacher's nose was crooked, and he screamed at them, and the stubbornness who did nothing was also implicated. Sometimes Cha-Cha listened to their laughter and felt an unspeakable feeling, like envy. She also wants to blend in. She didn't want to be left behind by Shenji. Cha-Cha said to Chen Xinyi, Shenji has been a lot happier recently. She can keenly capture the emotional changes of stubbornness. He is happy. Chen Xinyi murmured, although Zhang Miaoan is a transfer student, she is really popular and plays well with anyone. Cha-Cha is sensitive and introverted, easily shy and not very good at making new friends. Okay. When Cha-Cha was looking forward to snow in November, she received the first love letter in her life. It was a boy from class 9 who gave her the love letter. He and Zhang Miaoan are elementary school classmates, and they handed the love letter to Zhang Miaoan, help me give Chu tea to your class. It is related to my marriage. Don't give it to the wrong person. Zhang Miaoan said, don't you give her more sincerity. I'm shy, hurry up. Okay, wrap it on me. The teacher has entered the classroom. Zhang Miaoan returned to her seat and put the love letter in the drawer. When she was in class, she bumped her stubborn arm. Shenji frowned, listened to the lesson carefully. Zhang Miaoan kicked him and showed him the love letter envelope. Shenji patiently asked, what is this? Zhang Miaoan said, the love letter that someone asked me to hand over to Cha-Cha is love during campus. I love you, you love her, she loves others. A lot of single arrows. Secret love is always bitter. RT is so silly. Giving shoes will only make people go farther and farther. But Shenji does not something good stuff. See you tomorrow, friends. Thanks to the little angel who voted for me or irrigated the nutrient solution during 2020083113:58:222020090116:02:55. Thanks to the little angel who cast the landmine, Kyoki 1. Thanks to the little angel who irrigates the nutrient solution, 100 bottles of the evil and mad chairman, 3 bottles of my little biscuits in the mist. Thank you very much for your support. I will continue to work hard. I like Xiao Qingmei in the article I am the heroine of heaven, please collect it. I am the heroine of heaven, whose literature is updated the fastest. The boy's cold eyes stayed quietly on the love letter envelope for a long time, his slender and white fingers pinched the corner of the envelope, for tea. Zhang Miaoan said, hiding behind the pile of books and whispering, Cha-Cha looks cute and has a good temper. It's normal if someone wants to chase. After she finished speaking, she began to feel lost again, why no one is chasing me? Shenji silently took the envelope away, and there was no ups and downs in his emotions. Cha-Cha is very good, but she is still young and can't fall in love early. Zhang Miaoan didn't expect that Shenji would confiscate the letter. She said, will you be the master like this? What if tea is boring? Receiving a love letter is also a youthful memory. Shenji was unmoved, shut up and listened to the class. Zhang Miaoan was anxious. After all, she promised a good friend to send the love letter to her. She asked, aren't you jealous? Shenji twisted his eyebrows for a while and thought, why am I jealous? I'm not. Zhang Miaoan gave him a class of ideological work, and finally she said, how do you know Cha-Cha doesn't want this love letter? You don't want a bad marriage. Shenji thought about it again. Before school was over, he walked to Cha-Cha's seat and handed her the love letter. Cha-Cha was working hard to write homework with her little head buried, and a pink envelope suddenly appeared on the desk. She lifted her snow-white neck, her nose was reddish, and she looked soft and well-behaved. She was still holding a black pen with her lush white fingers. She asked, what is this? Shenji, love letter. Cha-Cha squeezed the pen firmly, her neck suddenly became red, her heartbeat was fast, and she felt like she was about to jump out of her chest. Her cheeks were red and ripe, her ears were hot, Her brain was numb, and she was at a loss. Seeing her blushing, Shen Ji said, "Li Ang from class 9 gave it to you." After a pause, he softened his voice and said, "Cha-cha, even if you like him, it is best not to fall in love." The crimson on the girl's face disappeared all of a sudden. She tensed her back and sat stiffly in her position, squeezing her fingers tightly, and the cyan blood vessels on her wrist were looming. Cha-cha was aggrieved and speechless. She didn't know where her overwhelming grievance came from. She is very sad. Shen Ji looked at the expression on Cha-cha's face, and felt that she should not like Li Ang, which is good. Cha-cha is too simple, and Shen Ji is worried that she will be deceived. After school this day, Cha-cha did not take a stubborn bicycle home. She took the bus and sat by the window, slowly opening the love letter Li Ang gave her. His handwriting is not very beautiful. Love letters are also very poor. There was only one sentence over and over again, "I like you and want to be with you forever." Cha-cha couldn't even remember Li Ang's appearance. She lowered her eyes and gently placed her thumb on the word like. Cha-cha is very sticky. I want to give him anything good. Watching him quietly. He even dreamed of dreaming. Will be jealous because he has a good new table mate, uneasy and jealous. Cha-cha felt that she fell in love with Shen Ji. Cha-cha, who recognized this, didn't panic in his heart. But Shen Ji seemed to treat her as just a neighbor's sister. Thinking of this, the envelope in Cha-cha's hand was crumpled by her. Cha-cha returned home, slumped on the desk and wrote a letter of rejection, which was handed to Li Ang from class 9 the next morning. Li Ang, who hadn't even begun to fall in love, was already broken and sad for several days. Cha-cha didn't go to school with Shen Ji for a few days, and even Chen Xinyi saw something was wrong, and ran to ask her what happened to Shen Ji. Cha-cha said, "It's nothing." Chen Xinyi was really shocked. "Yesterday I saw him riding Zhang Miaoan home by bike." Cha-cha did not improve, nodded, "Well, I saw it too." Chen Xinyi still felt unbelievable. "Have you quarreled with Shen Ji?" Cha-cha shook his head, "No. She just didn't actively look for Shen Ji." But Shen Ji didn't feel that there was anything wrong. Chen Xinyi saw that Cha-cha was not in a high mood, and comforted her, "This is how I grew up. I didn't share the same school with me in the middle school. He now has better friends than me." Cha-cha sighed softly. She thought she was special in Shen Ji's heart, but she didn't seem to be. Although she felt sad, she insisted on going to the mall to distribute flyers part-time this weekend. Cha-cha wore the doll suit given to her by the supervisor, and distributed a morning flyer. After drinking a glass of water at noon, she continued to distribute flyers. She was not lucky, and she still met acquaintances in the mall. Zhang Zhou didn't expect to see Cha-cha here. At first glance, he was stunned. Then he walked over with a cold face and asked in a low voice, "Why did you come to distribute the flyer?" Cha-cha was smashed by the senior, embarrassed in her heart, but on the outside, she pretended to be calm and nonsense, experience life. Zhang Zhou curled his eyebrows and easily saw her through. Lack of money. Not lacking. Zhang Zhou took off her cumbersome doll and couldn't help holding her wrists separately. "Have you had lunch?" Cha-cha clutched his stomach. "I have eaten it." Just after telling a lie, my stomach screamed. Jiang Zhou's pupil stared at Cha-cha, his eyes gradually cold. Holding her wrist excessively, he sullenly said, "I will take you to dinner." Cha-cha was reluctantly dragged by Zhang Zhou to the restaurant on the third floor. Jiang Zhou's face is slightly taut, and the usually deserted and noble boy has a sharp and compelling expression at the moment. Cha-cha felt that the senior was angry. She was cautious and restless. Zhang Zhou ordered the food for her by himself, and told the waiter with a cold face, "Thank you, please hurry up and serve." He was afraid that Cha-cha would be hungry. The friend reminded him, "Don't scare the little girl." They have never seen Zhang Zhou angry, let alone he is so active and enthusiastic towards a little girl. Several second-generation ancestors scratched their hearts and curiously, they just suffocated without asking who this little girl was. Zhang Zhou didn't want to scare Cha-Cha either, his face gradually softened. Don't be afraid of me, I am worried about you too. Cha-Cha is like a kitten, very vigilant in front of people who are not familiar with it. When the food was ready, Zhang Zhou found that his sister was very picky, eating meat and not vegetables. After eating, Zhang Zhou said, I will take you home. Cha-Cha didn't understand why the school grass was so enthusiastic to her. He won't really like her. No, I'll take a ride back by myself. Observe, brother drove the car today. Cha-Cha is speechless. Why does everyone want to be her brother? Jiang Zhou's friend looked at him in surprise and said silently, you don't really like her, do you? They have never seen such a warm and gentle Zhang Zhou. When is the eldest master being cold and cold, who doesn't look at anyone and doesn't care about him? Zhang Zhou bluntly kicked him, go away. Cha-Cha's resistance uprising ultimately failed and was forced to get into the school bus. Her little hands grabbed the seat belt. Senior, I'm only 14 years old. You are 17. Don't think about old cows eating tender grass. Okay, I know. Cha-Cha was silent, and then she realized that she hadn't reported her address, and Zhang Zhou drove the car to the alley smoothly. Zhang Zhou unfastened her seatbelt and drove her to the door of her house. He put his hands in his pockets to hide his nervousness. He knew that his mother lived in this small courtyard. Jiang Zhou's few memories of his mother are that she is very gentle. Cha-Cha looked up at Zhang Zhou, and she asked, Senior, do you want to sit in my house? I feel embarrassed after eating the senior meal for nothing. No. Zhang Zhou then put all the cash in her wallet in her hands. You can't go to a part-time job without money, you know. Cha-Cha held the cash in her hand. I don't want it. Just as my brother borrowed it from you. Cha-Cha thought for a while, nodded hard, and said seriously, I will return it to the senior. Zhang Zhou wouldn't want her to pay it back, but he still said, okay. Cha-Cha used the money to buy the expensive pair of sneakers, packed them and put them in a gift box, waiting for Shen Ji to give him on his birthday. The weather has been good this winter. The sky is clear and sunny. There is no sign that it will snow. The weather forecast said that the first snow would fall on the night of the 30th, and she jumped out of bed happily. Shen Ji's birthday is Thursday. There are no holidays for 2 days. After school on Thursday, Cha-Cha waited for a long time at the bicycle parking place. Shen Ji saw her sitting in the back seat with her school bag on his back, and was stunned. Cha-Cha. Shen Ji hasn't seen her waiting for herself for a long time. They all entered puberty. He can also understand that the girl has her own secret and no longer serves as his little tail. Shen Ji asked, do you want to go home with me? Cha-Cha pursed her mouth and smiled shyly, nodded vigorously, Shen Ji didn't refuse her either, and asked her to sit down and not fall. Ji, it is said on TV that it will snow tonight, and I will build a snowman for you then. Okay. Then don't go to bed too early tonight. Yet. He said again, Cha-Cha, sit down, hold me tight. Shen Ji suddenly accelerated, and the gentle speed of the car gradually speeded up. In less than 10 minutes, he rode home. After dinner, the sky outside was completely dark, and the cold wind started to snow. Cha-Cha hopes that there will be a snowfall on November 30th every year for Shen Ji. Cha-Cha took out the gift box hidden under the bed, and couldn't wait to show up in front of Shen Ji and give him the gift. It was cold. Cha-Cha wore a down jacket, a furry hat, half of his face hid in a scarf, and then walked out in slippers. The little girl was holding a big box in her arms, her body was heavy. She summoned the courage to knock on Shen Ji's door. Shen Ji's adoptive mother opened the door. Are you looking for Shen Ji? He went out. Cha-Cha asked, Auntie, do you know where he went? I don't know. Shen Ji's adoptive mother slammed the door shut again. Cha-Cha waited for half an hour in the snow, but Shen Ji still did not come back. She glanced at her watch, and it was about to pass 0 soon. She was anxious and made a call to Shen Ji, but he did not answer it. She didn't know who touched the answer button, and the voice over there was noisy. Shen Ji, hurry up. Let's set off a firework. Miaoan is right, walk around, we have already bought the fireworks. Before the end of the call, Cha-Cha heard that they were in the hot pot restaurant in the alley. Cha-Cha ran to the hot pot restaurant. The snowy day was wet and slippery. She smashed her foot severely, tearing down her eyes. She got up from the ground, but the box was broken. Cha-Cha just held the broken shoe box and stood stupidly not far from their party. 5 or 6 people, the boys in the back row, and Zhang Miaoan. She saw Shen Ji set off a firework. In the ice and snow, the glorious and short-lived firelight reflected on his white jade face. The teenager was wearing a black sweater, standing in the snow, with a gentle smile on his lips. She heard Zhang Miaoan say loudly to Shen Ji, Shen Ji. Happy birthday! The 0 o'clock has passed. The first day of December. Cha-Cha felt as if he was getting further and further away from his world, the two little ones who had no guesses, there was an invisible and intangible barrier between them. Cha-Cha stood there, before turning and leaving, she silently said in her heart, Aji, happy birthday! Everyone! I changed my name to my brother. Changed to Zhangzhou. Thank you all. Shen Ji, I have grown up. Cha-Cha, well, 886 Cha-Cha is so cute, I will marry a good man in the future, see you tomorrow. Thanks to the little angel who voted for me or irrigated nutrient solution during 2020090116:02:55202009021732:13. Thanks to the little angel who threw landmines, one little match for selling girls, thanks to the little angel who irrigated the nutrient solution, 20 bottles of Kuka crushed ice. 5 bottles, 1 bottle in the mist, thank you very much for your support. I will continue to work hard. I like Xiao Qingmei in the article I am the heroine of the heavens, please collect it, I am the heroine of the heroine Xiao Qingmei's literature update fastest. Shen Ji went home at 1 o'clock at night. There was a thick layer of snow falling in front of the house. On the balcony was a black box with a heart-shaped post-it note, neatly written in 8 words. Shen Ji recognized that this was Cha-Cha's handwriting at a glance, and he remembered the agreement he had forgotten. After a short silence for a few seconds, Shen Ji patted the snowflakes on the box, held the box and returned to the bedroom, slowly opening it. Inside was a pair of expensive brand new sneakers. The corners of his mouth squeezed into a faint straight line, the coldness between the eyebrows was clearly visible, the blue veins floating under the surface of the skin, and the tight thumbs, the joints creaked twice. These shoes are very valuable. Shen Ji doesn't need such an expensive gift that can't be bought at a glance. It was too late, and Shen Ji planned to return the shoes to Cha-Cha tomorrow. There was heavy snow all night in Nanchang. The snow in front of the door in the early morning was below the knees, and the branches in the courtyard were crushed by the heavy snow. The head teacher called one by one to inform the parents of the students that they will not be used for class today. Cha-Cha was already dressed. She was extremely afraid of the cold. She was very tightly wrapped inside and out. Wearing newly bought little boots, only a pair of eyes were exposed all over her body. She was about to go out with the key. Let me know that the course has been cancelled. Chu Qingying teased her, I don't have to go to class today, are you happy? Cha-Cha nodded honestly and stretched out her little finger, only a little bit happy. Chu Qingying took off the scarf for her, and for a moment, her small face was covered in white and red, and some fleshy cheeks looked easy to pinch. She touched her daughter's little head, take a good rest today. Cha-Cha took off his coat and put on a sweater and nestled on the sofa in the living room, not very energetic. It was almost time for lunch when the doorbell rang. Chu Qingying went out to open the door, and the delicate-faced teenager stood in the snow. His skin was cold and white and his eyes were as dark as ink. He politely called her aunt. Chu Qingying asked him to enter the house quickly, and said with a smile, "Are you here looking for tea?" Ji Shen thought for a while and nodded, "Well, I have something to do with her. Cha-Cha is watching TV in the living room. Go in." The TV screen in the living room was still on, but the little girl who was supposed to be lying on the sofa was gone. Chu Qingying cried out strangely, "It should be in the bedroom. I'll go to the kitchen to cook first, and Ji will stay and have a meal together at noon." Shen Ji did not say yes. He walked silently to the bedroom upstairs, with slender fingers resting on the doorknob, with a cold temperament and a low voice, "Cha-Cha, can I come in?" Cha-Cha got out of bed immediately and checked her clothes in the mirror. It seemed quite cute. She moistened her throat, "Well, come in." Shen Ji unscrewed the door and walked in. No matter how many times Cha-Cha looked at his face, he never felt bored. Shen Ji's gaze swept across the girl's room. The decoration was very warm, even the tablecloths were girl fans. Cha-Cha looked up at him, "You are looking for me, what's the matter?" Shen Ji passed the box in his hand, "This, return you." Cha-Cha has a pale face and doesn't know what to say. Shen Ji continued, "It's too expensive, you go to the store and refund it." "Hey!" Cha-Cha said in a choked tone, "But this is my birthday present for you." Shen Ji was patient, "No need." Cha-Cha looked at him eagerly and explained, "I didn't spend money randomly, nor was it as expensive as you thought." As she spoke, she couldn't go on, because Shen Ji's eyes were getting colder and colder looking at her. She knew at a glance that Shen Ji was going to be angry. Cha-Cha lowered her eyelids to cover the redness of her eyes, and silently took it back to her shoebox, "I will return it tomorrow." The look on Shen Ji's face eased a little, "Well, good." Shen Ji did not stay for dinner, and after returning the gift to Cha-Cha, he went home and wrote math papers to calm his mood. His mind is full of the happy birthday that Zhang Miaoyan said loudly in his ear when the fireworks were set off last night. Shen Ji had never met a girl like Zhang Miaoyan, who didn't listen well to class, and didn't wear school uniforms well. She smiled every day and never worries, bright and lively, optimistic and cheerful, like a beam of sunshine. Shen Ji was also impressed by the words Zhang Miaoyan said while sitting next to him last night. She said, "Shen Ji, you have to laugh more. You shouldn't just tolerate your unqualified mother, and sometimes you have to resist, let her know that you are not good to bully." The more Shen Ji thought, the more confused his mind became, and the math papers on the table couldn't be written anymore. He put away the math papers a little irritable, put the paper crane that Zhang Miaoyan gave him in the drawer, and stared silently for a long time. Cha-Cha did not return the shoes, but placed them under the bed. After this birthday, she and Shen Ji seemed to be alienated a lot. "Maybe it's like Chen Xinyi said. They are all grown up. Not as intimate as when I was young." Cha-Cha accepted the incident calmly, but occasionally felt uncomfortable when thinking about it or seeing Shen Ji walking side by side with others. She still likes to be persistent. Cha-Cha pressed her feelings to the bottom of her heart, without telling anyone. She made every effort to prepare for the final exam that was about to face. The atmosphere of the exam did not seem to reach the back row. They still didn't plan to listen to the class seriously, and they kept making small movements during class. If it weren't for the stubbornness, the teacher probably didn't have a good face and would tell them to get out every class. Cha-Cha's birthday and Shen Ji's birthday are only 1 month away, and her birthday coincides with the day before the final exam. At the same table, Yugu put a box in her hand, filled with chocolates, and a pink watch in the middle. He said, "For tea." Cha-Cha was stunned, "Hey." Yugu frowned, he raised his eyelashes were long and straight, and the girl's soft white face was reflected in his black pupils. He said seriously, "Birthday, send you." Cha-Cha was a little embarrassed, she thought no one remembered except Shen Ji. She accepted it. Thank you, I like it very much. Yugu nodded, as if he could see a bit of joy in his cold expression. He was very happy. Since childhood, he had only one friend, Cha-Cha. Others dislike him and isolate him. Yu is not good at words and his expression is clumsy. He said, mine is yours. All his good things, all the babies in the room, want to give tea. Chen Xinyi, who was onlookers in the back seat, had become accustomed to the blatant double standard of tea and tea by autistic patients. In the whole class, the second-grade Swibayu is only willing to talk to Cha-Cha. No one in the class wanted to sit at the same table with Yugu, and no one wanted to be friends with a mentally ill person. What if he suddenly goes crazy? Chen Xinyi asked, Cha-Cha, is your birthday today? Cha-Cha is very shy, Chen Xinyi said, I will invite you to drink milk tea after class. Cha-Cha said, okay. Then she added in a low voice, I want to add pearls. No problem. On this day, when Cha-Cha arranged the examination room, I was excited and didn't feel tired at all. She bounced home. There was a black car parked in front of her house. The driver saw her and shouted to her with a smile, hello, miss. Cha-Cha thought he had admitted the wrong person, so he didn't think much. When she returned home, she put on slippers. The table in the living room had her favorite cakes. Mom was preparing dinner in the kitchen, and she put down her school bag, and found that the decent uncle was also in the kitchen. She stepped on her slippers and walked slowly, her voice soft, Mom, what are you eating tonight? My mother seemed to be very frightened and blushed abnormally. She said, grilled fish, chicken legs, rib soup and your favorite crab. Cha-Cha licked her lips, and she asked, then do I have any gifts tonight? She wants a big doll so that she can sleep with her at night. Chu Qingying smiled and said, go to the room to see, there is a surprise that my mother prepared for you. Cha-Cha couldn't wait to go upstairs and found a big brown bear in the middle of her little bed. She hugged the brown bear in love, rolled on the bed twice, and then began to look forward with joy. What will Shen Ji give her this year? Downstairs, Chu Qingying asked Zhang Chengzhou to let go of her. The man naturally refused, and put his arms around her waist, continuing with the unfinished things just now, pressing her against the stove and prying her lips and teeth predatory. Chu Qingying couldn't breathe when he was kissed, and her clear eyes were stained with charming colors, and she was faintly shy. Zhang Chengzhou calmly reminded him, when are you going to tell your daughter about my identity? Chu Qingying said weakly, a few days later. If you can, you can. Chu Qingying really didn't want to go back to Jiang's house again, and lived a life that he took as his own. Zhang Chengzhou patiently ran out and issued an ultimatum, I only give you 7 days. If you refuse to say, let me tell her personally. Chu Qingying's eyes were reddish, her face was dull and she didn't speak. Zhang Chengzhou was originally a strong and domineering man. It is incredible to endure to this point. He said, I don't want my daughter to suffer anymore. Chu Qingying's voice was very small, I know. Zhang Chen's whose voice was cold, my son misses you too. He pressed on every step of the way. She has no retreat at all. After a full dinner, the first thing Cha-Cha does is to cut the cake. The face she ate was all cream. Chu Qingying felt funny, and did not remind her. This is the first time for Zhang Chengzhou to prepare a birthday present for his daughter. Half a month in advance, he asked countless friends, but the man who was at the mall was helpless with a small gift. He didn't know what Cha-Cha liked, so he gave an expensive one. A bracelet studded with pink diamonds. The first thing Cha-Cha saw was he liked it. Then this uncle is so pitiful, so poor that he bought a fake. But Cha-Cha is very considerate and didn't reveal the fact that he bought fakes. The workmanship is pretty good, and the light of fake diamonds flashed into her eyes. Cha-Cha told him kindly, Uncle, save some money. Zhang Chengzhou raised his eyebrows, okay, Uncle got it. Cha-Cha said again, "Uncle, don't be discouraged. You are still young and you will definitely be able to make a lot of money in the future, and my mother is not the kind of person who will despise you for having no money." Jiang Chengzhou couldn't help laughing. "Okay, Uncle will strive to earn a lot of money in the future to buy a big house for Cha-Cha." Cha-Cha felt that this uncle had no other serious problems except for being poor. She is very satisfied. Cha-Cha always talked to him so seriously. "Uncle, if you want to be my stepdad, as long as you don't abuse me and treat my mother well, I can barely accept it." "How could I abuse you? It's all said in the news." "Cha-Cha, rest assured, I will not abuse you. TT is his treasure." After giving her daughter's birthday, Jiang Chengzhou didn't stay overnight as usual, and returned to the ruthless President Jiang after leaving the house. Fat Mom has a long memory this time. She took a photo of the car in front of Chu Qingying's house. The driver who was sitting in the driving seat waiting for President Jiang was also photographed in the camera. The photo can prove that, as she said before, how the owner of the car is a pretty old man. Fat Mom was triumphant, wondering if anyone thought she was spreading rumors this time. Chu Qingying hadn't been taken care of by an old man, she would eat her phone. Before midnight, this birthday tea was very happy. She was so excited that she couldn't sleep, feeling that she was the happiest child in the world. There is a mother and a good uncle. There are gifts and blessings from good friends. Cha-Cha is on the balcony, waiting for the stubborn to fall asleep. Slightly knocked his head on the railing, awakened from his doze. She glanced at the lamp next door. It's already dark. Shenji has fallen asleep. It was already past 12 o'clock. Cha-Cha has a sore nose and a sore throat. She realized that Shenji might have forgotten her birthday. "Shenji, I haven't started not being a man." "Cha-Cha, I don't want to have a crush anymore." "President Jiang, my daughter, give up. Ruthless dog stuff is not worth it. See you tomorrow. Not far from Canada. Bing Bing, work hard to update thanks to the little angel who voted for me or irrigated the nutrient solution during 202009021732:13 2020090320:26:04 Thanks to the little angel who threw landmines, fortunately 1, thanks to the little angel who irrigated the nutrient solution, 10 bottles of Kinga, 5 bottles of hamsters who love milk tea. Thank you very much for your support. I will continue to work hard. I like Xiao Qingmei in the article I am the heroine of the heavens, please collect it. I am the heroine of the heroine. Xiao Qingmei's literature update fastest.